Oh, shit.
Greetings, humans.
Greetings, humans.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Brittany. Thanks for joining us today live on the broadcast. Our fearless producer.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and this is kind of a culmination episode for us because we put in a bunch of hard work in the last 9 months or however long it's been doing the podcast. It all kind of culminated this past weekend where we all met up in person in Greensboro, North Carolina for the Cosmic Summit.
Yes, it was a blast attending the Cosmic Summit. We got a lot of pictures and footage. We got to meet and greet with a lot of people. It was really a blast. In fact, we're going to feature folks that we met on the show tonight.
Yes, yeah. We and also Brittany rocked it at the Cosmic Summit. She was a second shooter for Steph, who is the coordinator for the event. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Brittany, so we can get you talking out of the way?
Yeah, I guess I just went to all the rooms, saw all the speakers, got photos of the audience, of the people speaking, and just group shots of people. And I got to meet everyone by doing that. So it was really cool.
It was cool. And you got us into all the behind the scenes backstage rooms as well. So it was pretty cool for us as well, Mike?
Yes, that's right. Without Brittany, we wouldn't have been nearly the force that we were there. So we appreciate everything, Brittany. Thank you so much.
For sure. Like at
Thanks.
Contact in the Desert, in other words, Brittany, the real MVP. Yeah. At Contact in the Desert, Mike and I were kind of ghosts out there. Nobody even knew we were there. Brittany made sure that everyone saw us at Cosmic Summit. So thank you so much for that, Brittany.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. And I mean,
Want to show some pictures that we took while we were there?
Yeah.
Let's get right
First,
to it.
before we do, I just wanted to show what came in the goodie bag. We got an official program. This was if you got a Moai ticket, maybe even a megafauna. You got this Cosmic Summit notebook, and a Cosmic Summit mug, which I had a coffee out of this morning. So yeah, there we go. And you got a pass. And this makes a difference to me, guys. Okay, so at Contact in the Desert, we got these crappy, cheap wristbands, at Cosmic Summit, you get these big badass.
The clip on the lanyard. You could use that lanyard for something else if you wanted to. You could unclip the name badge. Yeah.
Correct. So yeah, I just wanted to show what you got in the goodie bag. I actually didn't even open it till like last night. I didn't open it when we were home or anything like that. So yeah, you got the pictures ready, or do you want me to pull them up, Mike?
Oh, sorry, nope. I can
get them.
Okay, thanks. They're in the Google Drive, the good old Google Drive. We'll show you a few pictures and then introduce you to some new friends that we've made. That's the plan for the show tonight. Because other than that, there's not much of a plan. We've just been having a cosmic time for several days.
Going ham, yeah.
We traveled back on Tuesday, and I had work yesterday. I got the day off today. Here we go. A very cool picture with Brian Cory Dobbs and Michael Donnelly, director of the Atlantica film.
Yeah, very nice guy, Michael Donnelly. Got to meet and chat with him a couple different times. Brittany found a little something out about Michael Donnelly over the last couple days. You want to tell us what you found out?
Well, he was actually a contestant in Big Brother, the TV show, the reality TV show. So
I was not aware of that.
That was interesting. Me neither.
An archaeologist, a TV star.
He was a Disney animator.
Oh, that's right. I remember hearing him talk about that. Yeah, you asked him about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. Yeah. Very nice guy. A very good documentary. We'll get to that. Brittany, can you mute that again? Thank you. And then who's the other dude in the picture?
In spite of all those big things, being on TV, being in Big Brother, when you catch the bug to hunt for Atlantis, you got to drop everything and start hunting for evidence of these lost civilizations.
Exactly. I don't remember this other dude in the picture with the blue drink. Do you?
I wish I could. My apologies to that good sir. He probably did tell us his name in that moment.
I'm sure he did.
I was fully socially overwhelmed most of the weekend, FYI. So sorry about any awkward moments. I loved everybody that I met.
I was socially overwhelmed too. It was like a lot of peopling, but it was totally worth it. Made a lot of good friends as well.
Yes.
All right. So who do we got here? This is myself. This is Josh the Ancients on the left. He's got a TikTok channel. He should be joining us sometime in the next hour for a few minutes from work to tell us about his experience and his TikTok channel. To my left, my right, what's this guy's name again? I keep forgetting his name.
I can't remember, but that sweet gentleman did the ceremony for us at the Pilot Mountain Trek on the first night on the summer solstice. I believe he's a member of the Cherokee tribe. I don't want to speak, but it was a very touching ceremony. I really appreciated him hanging out with us and sharing that time with us.
Yeah, full-blood Cherokee, and he sang and played the drums and did some prayers. It was beautiful. And I just actually did want to mention that night. So that was on Friday night. So Mike and I rolled in. We were looking for a card for Brittany, a thank you card for Brittany, and we couldn't find one in the mall. And everyone was waiting for us to get there. Tyrone, Brittany. So we just went to the hotel, and then we basically hanging out, socializing. A couple hours later, everyone got on the bus, but we rolled with our friend Tyrone, Rebirth of the Word, who's the next man in the picture, up to Pilot Mountain for the field trip, and it was amazing.
It's no surprise to see Tyrone on our show because we've done shows with him before, but this was actually Dave and I's first time to meet him in person, so it was really cool.
Yona French Hawk, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh for the win there. Yeah, super nice guy too, because he rolled into the party kind of late, so he rolled into the party, and I remember he walked in and walked right up to us, started talking to us. Super nice guy, and hope he was able to get a beer because I think they were closing down shop right when he walked in. So, what else we got? What's going on next? Oh,
saying
yeah.
Hello to. Yep. Go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead.
I was just saying hello to Jeff up north in Roubaix. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, quite a weekend. Correct. Yeah, that news dropped like Saturday morning. I think everyone ignored it because they were just trying to have some fun. This was a highlight for me. I don't know about anyone else, but when I saw that he had a booth, Mr. Billy Carson there, I got super pumped. We love Billy here in the multiverse. I know he can be controversial to some, and I get it, but we love Billy here in the multiverse, and Billy was a pleasure to meet. Very nice guy. Showed up in like a ballin' ass blazer and stuff, and wearing Jordans with a suit. It was cool. And he had a table. He's selling books and stuff. And I don't know. Billy Carson's good to fall asleep to. I don't know about that's. I literally told him that. So
Billy's a cool guy. A little forbidden knowledge, never hurt nobody. And I really dig the collabs that he does with Paul Wallace. So it was really cool to meet Billy in person.
Correct. I totally agree. That is me and Robert Schock's wife, Catherine Katie Ulysses. Yeah, and unfortunately, like we got to interview Robert and Katie, and the interview kind of got kapooted or whatever you want to call it because there was terrible audio during 60-70% of the video. And so we're looking forward to meeting up with them and getting both of our books signed by them. But they were basically mobbed all weekend. They were every time you saw them in the public space, they were surrounded by people, obviously. So disappointing. But I did get a picture with Katie. So here we go. And I did go. Was I the only one who went to her presentation?
Yes, we had to split on that one.
Got it. Okay, well, I did go to her presentation, and her and Dr. Schock are working on a very interesting theory about how Egypt was intentionally buried, just like Göbekli Tepe. And you can find the it's going to be in there. Working on a book about it, I believe, but you can find the presentation if you were an attendee at Cosmic Summit. You should be able to go to their I don't know where you find that stuff. If anyone knows, let us know. But you can rewatch everything that was there that weekend. So you could, if you missed it, check it out. She did. It was her first time doing a conference like this and speaking on a historical topic, and she nailed it. So I really liked it. And she doesn't make me look really short like Billy Carson. All right. This was a cool one. So he spoke last year, didn't he, Mike? Luke Caverns.
Yep, Luke Caverns did his presentation on that 4th Mayan handbag last year. Tremendous. It was cool to see him. He was attending. He was there in the crowd with us this year. It was cool to meet him in person.
Yeah, he was very low profile. Stopped him for a second, and I swear on my life, he said, "Hey, Mike and Dave, you're from Mike and Dave," and I was like, "Me? Oh yeah, I'm from Mike and Dave." So it was pretty cool to get recognized by Luke Caverns. He knew who we were. So yeah, and very nice fella. He gave us some advice. I'm not going to share it with the world, but he gave us some advice that I will take to heart. All right, this is when Brittany took me in to see the vases that as you can see, Matt Bell of Matt Bell Limitless was behind us. I also got to get behind the table and take a picture with Matt. Did I not, Brittany? Yeah, Brittany's nodding yes. Yeah, this was one of the big attractions of the weekend, huh, Mike?
It was cool to see and hold these pre-dynastic vases. Just to know that they're really, you're holding a mystery in your hands, a mystery that's not been solved.
Yeah, and talk about putting your money where your mouth is when it comes to Matt Bell, because he bought all this stuff and had it all validated, and now they're working on scanning all this stuff with the Artifact Foundation,
Yes.
which is Adam Young, who also did an episode on our show, and he was there this weekend. Shout out Adam Young. Shout out Matt Bell. Matt Bell had that room open 3 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. The best time to go in was during a speaker, though. Sorry, Jay Anderson, but I went in during his and got to hold everything. Got to meet Matt's wife, Crystal. She was very nice. So, yeah. The vases were heavy. I held a few. Yeah, Sean got in there and grabbed a few. Shout out Sean, rolling with us all weekend. All right. Who's this guy? Who's this handsome fella? Not on the left, on the right.
Stephen Burns, he's a geophysicist that we follow, and we've used a couple of his clips on YouTube. So shout out to Stephen. He's a great channel for solar weather and all the geophysical effects that follow all that, up to and including your personal health, which is good to be aware of.
Yes. And very nice gentleman. He gave us his phone number. I lost it. We were supposed to do a little collab on Monday and never got to happen because I didn't see him and I lost his phone number. But shout out to Stephen Burns. What are we looking at here, Mike?
This is me chatting with Paul Shotskin. He's the author of 2 biographies. Paul presented at the Cosmic Summit last year, and I bought both of his books. And it was great to see him back in person this year. I got to tell him, about how I read his books, loaned them to my friend. It's the story of Thomas Townsend Brown and Philo T. Farnsworth. So if you follow this sort of undercurrent of lost and suppressed technology, mainly suppressed, which I'll also comment about later, Paul is an excellent author to check out. It was great to make that connection and to stay in touch with Paul.
Yep. And I just wanted to shout out, we got our friends Ashish and Brian in the room. We're going to get through our pictures and then we're going to bring you guys in the room and any other visitors that we have. Brian, if you have any pictures, no pressure, but if you have any, you can share them. We'll give you a chance to share them if you want, any pictures you want. All right, let's go. Next pick. Yeah, there's the big dog. I swear he's the most, during his presentation, everyone was literally everyone was there, and everyone was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. Even even Brittany's 13-year-old daughter liked this presentation. Praveen Mohan is the guy's a G. Okay, he was dressed to the nines all weekend, and even at the party, at the after party in George's room, he was literally in a purple.
Praveen and Billy Carson had the 2 best suits, I think, of the conference.
Oh,
they were tied for the 2 best suit wearing gentlemen.
By far. And he's tied with Scott Walter for my favorite presentation, his favorite speaker. But I'm like adoring Praveen Mohan fan. So every time I see him, I'm like, oh, there's Praveen Mohan. So I'm sorry about that, Praveen. I'm sorry if I was weird around you. Oh, by the way, check out Praveen Mohan's channel. Holy moly. There's Mike and Praveen. We ambushed him by his table there and got some good pics. This was a forced picture by Brittany, but it actually turned out really good. There's Dave Fitzpatrick in the room. Just hang tight, buddy.
Let's roll through these pics.
Yep.
This is a great pic. Thanks for staging this one, Brittany, because your professionalism really shone through. Dave and I wouldn't know how to frame the picture properly like this.
No, correct, no. We got Mike checking out some pre-dynastic vases with a tool he brought himself, right?
Little handheld magnifying glass microscope that Mom and Pop got me for Christmas a while back. And I was examining the molecular smoothness of this diorite vase that was manufactured somehow by a pre-dynastic civilization in Egypt in the Matt Bell vase room. Tremendous.
Wild. And that's the other picture I meant, yeah.
Yep, there's me and Matt right after that.
Yep.
Me and Tim Hogan. So Tim Hogan had a really cool presentation. Tim, among other things, is the Grand Master of one of the orders of the Knights Templar. And I bought one of his books. So go ahead and show that off. This is the relevant picture. The Way of the Templar, a manual for the modern Knight Templar.
My bad. I didn't mean to
there. All good. Tim Hogan's presentation was cool, and it was cool to meet him in person.
Yeah, he also presented with Scott Walter on Monday in a classroom setting, and so we got to see that as well. There's me meeting Trevor Grassi. Stand by for a full interview. I did about an 8-minute interview on the floor with him. You can see some of it on YouTube. Occult Rejects posted it, but I have the full copy, and it was just kind of a magic moment that lined up at the right time, and he was hard to get a hold of during the weekend as well. But he stood there and talked to me for about 8 minutes, answered a bunch of questions. It was really cool. We got Mark Young, who is also a presenter. He's from the Comet Research Group, and he presented some groundbreaking new research. So please go check that out at the Cosmic Summit website, or wherever you find that stuff.
Mark had an awesome presentation. I think that was the one we had to split with Catherine Ulysses and Mark Young at the same time, if I recall correctly.
Correct. Who's that, Mike?
Chris Cottrell, a fellow Georgian and science nerd like me and Dave. Chris came on the show and told us about these Carolina Bay formations. He did a fabulous presentation with Professor Antonio Zamora, who's devoted his life's work to studying the origins of the Carolina Bay's geological formations. This one's right in our backyard, folks. This one that we want to go out and look at and maybe make some content about in the future. Great to see Chris in person. He's a real down-to-earth guy. It was fun to hang out.
Yep. That's me and another. I'm a former combat medic. This guy's a former Navy corpsman, which basically has the exact same training and pretty much a similar job. So respect to that guy. Ryan. It's Ryan. Yeah, I got his phone number. I'll hit you up, Ryan. But very nice guy. Met him on Pilot Mountain and kept running into him all weekend. So, how about that one, Mike? That was a good little moment.
Ashton Forbes, and that's another chance to share who I thought had the strongest presentation was Ashton's summary compilation of both scientific papers and patents regarding zero-point energy technology, warp drive technology, forbidden technology, suppressed technology that purportedly doesn't exist. Ashton did a really good job compiling patents and papers that describe exactly what that technology is and did a good job synchronizing it to that video of the MH370 flight. Cool to meet Ashton in person too.
Yeah, we just happened to be walking down the hallway at the same time as him, and he gave us about 5 minutes of his time. And so thank you so much, Ashton, for taking a pic with us. Super nice to meet you. Much friendlier in person than he is on his YouTube channel. He's quite fiery on his YouTube channel. Super friendly guy in person. And that is it for our slideshow. I think how we'll do this is bring everyone in and one by one and give them a minute to introduce themselves. And then once we have everyone in, we'll go through and share our favorite speaker, favorite moment. I think Ashish wants to talk about, Ashish has a cool story of how he ended up at Cosmic Summit. Yes. So does Josh. So let's do this. We'll go Ashish first since he was here first.
Yep. Should we bring everybody's camera in and then do a 1 to 2 minute roundabout? We've got Ryan and Dave also. Yes. If y'all are good with that.
Boom. Let's go. All right. Hey guys, what's up?
Greetings.
How you doing?
Hi, Dave.
Thanks for coming on the show. So Ashish was one of the first guys we met at Cosmic Summit this year. We ran into him with Tyrone, and we ended up going to Pilot Mountain, spending most of the weekend with him. Ashish, tell everyone who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, my name is Ashish Rastogi. I'm very new to the community. I'm a total newbie, but I've been working on this working on megalithic structures kind of in the background for a long time. My background is in AI related to computer vision. I've done a variety of things. My history is a little bit convoluted, but primarily my major motivation in life is I like working on interesting problems. And so it's really hard to imagine a more interesting problem than all of these megalithic structures. And to me, what I'm seeing, the overwhelming amount of evidence that's coming in, especially some of the stuff that we saw at the Cosmic Summit, continues to show that all these megalithic structures around the world are heavily, heavily engineered structures. These things cannot be coincidences. In Egypt alone, there's more than 130 pyramids. In Mexico, hundreds of pyramids, maybe more than 1,000. South America, same thing. And then that's just pyramids alone. And of course, there's many in Asia and elsewhere, all over the world. So there's thousands and thousands of these pyramids that exist all over the world that we know about. And then on top of that, we have all these other heavily ornate, well-crafted, heavily engineered structures that are not pyramid shaped. For example, like Angkor Wat, Taj Mahal. If you've never seen Kailasa Temple in India, I would put that near the top of the list.
It is the top of the list.
Things that you have to just be aware of that exists in this world. And that's really the mind-blowing part of all of this. When you really look at the engineering precision, quality, the mechanics that are going on that is required to build any of these structures around the world, let alone as many as they have, It is absurd. And when I say absurd, I'm talking about absurd even on today's level of technology. History of Granite and Uncharted X, I have to give a lot of credit to these two channels. They have done a lot of work on finding evidence of heavy machining in the pyramids, in the Giza Plateau. And we keep finding evidence of this all over the place. A lot of the things that we saw with the vases at the Cosmic Summit demonstrates this as well. And it shows that this isn't a one-trick pony. They're able to do it not just on lathes, but they can do it with straight edges and corners. And they can do it on extremely, and they can do it on extremely hard stone. So Uncharted X talks a little bit about Chris Dunn's work, where Chris Dunn has a patent on a diamond tip machine saw. And they tried to cut with a machine, diamond tip saw. They tried to cut through a granite slab, and the rate that they were able to achieve is something around 30 millimeters per hour. So about 1.18 inches. With a copper saw, you get less than 3 millimeters per hour. And so if you look at the Serapeum, just one side of these granite boxes is 15 feet long. And that doesn't account for the depth that you would have to cut at. Just to cut one side at a rate of 1.18 inches per hour with a machine, it would take more than 6 days just to cut the one side. And then you would have to cut the four sides because this is a rectangular box. And we see these boxes all over the place, all over the world, at all these other megalithic structures, not just pyramids, by the way. Angkor Wat has a box, Taj Mahal has boxes, and so on and so on. These boxes, the cutting of these boxes is just one aspect, but these boxes are also polished and shaped and engineered at an extremely high degree of precision. So anyway, sorry, I know I'm supposed to do an intro. I just realized I just kind of went into my thing.
It's all good, man.
Just to give you an idea of what got me into the Cosmic Summit, I'm now exploring the Southeast Asian megalithic structures. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find patterns and pattern match these megalithic structures across the world. Because to me, these structures are related. The engineering process that's being used in these structures is similar enough to start saying that these things are related. And the thing that, I'm a big fanboy of Praveen Mohan as well. And I'm doing a tour with him in Thailand to look at those megalithic structures. And that's really what got me into this. I had a little call with him and I kind of talked to him in a little bit more detail about what I'm working on. And I had no idea there was really a community around this. I just kind of use online resources. And Praveen asked me to come to this cosmic event and told me that maybe I'll be able to meet some people. And I've been really isolated in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been looking at what's going on at the Grand Canyon and other places around me. And I have some things that I might show a little bit later that kind of demonstrate that these megalithic structures are also in North America and maybe even also in the Grand Canyon. And so I went to the Cosmic Summit almost on a whim. I literally bought my ticket just a few days before because that's the first time I learned about it. And then I just realized there's this huge community of you guys around that are also interested in all this stuff. And I talk about this stuff all the time here, but no one's working on it, despite how much cool stuff we might have in Arizona that could be helpful towards, solving this big problem. And just a kind of final point here, for me, what this is really starting to point to is we need to start looking at what the big picture is. What does it all mean if there are this many civilizations all over the world that have the capability to build these structures way more advanced than we're able to do today? What does it mean? And what kinds of implications does that have about what we think we understand?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashish, for sharing that. And your story's so cool because you didn't even know the Cosmic Summit existed or that there was a community of people that gave a shit about these topics. Praveen Mohan told you to go. And that's such a cool story, man. And I really hope, I want you to tell us about your Randall story later, but I wanted to move on to Mr. Brian Cory Dobbs, who's a old friend of the Multiverse. He did our first episode of Cosmic Monday, and so super excited to meet him in person. Brian, he's the director of the movie Blue Planet Red. And hey, man, tell us how you got involved in the Cosmic Summit community, and say hi to the Multiverse.
Hey guys, nice to see you again, Dave, Mike, and Brittany.
Yes.
Your smiles put a smile on my face. You guys just light up the room. It's great.
Appreciate it.
Hello to everybody else, Ashish, Dave, and other guy who just joined, Rebirth of the Word, and everybody else listening. Josh the Ancient, how's it going, everybody?
How's it going?
Yeah. So let's see here. I first connected with George last year, sort of right in the wake of last year's Cosmic Summit. Him and I both have a mutual respect, mutual admiration, rather, for, let me rephrase. Him and I both really dig the work of this guy known as Professor Chandra Wickramasinghe, who was the keynote speaker of last year's Cosmic Summit and is basically the reason why we all know the word panspermia. He's the guy who pioneered, really one of the pioneers of the movement. The idea didn't start with him, but he basically popularized the idea along with his work with Sir Fred Hoyle. So long story short, George is Chandra's biggest fan. I'm right there with him. So George and I connected in that manner. George and I are both really into this idea of panspermia and have both looked into it a bit. And we are both familiar with the evidence that exists demonstrating panspermia. So panspermia is one of the things that is presented in the documentary that I worked on. The documentary is mostly about Mars, but we do get into panspermia a little bit. We actually show some examples of it. But ever since George and I connected, I've been doing a little bit of doing a little video work for him on the side here and there. I had my cameras with me at the summit, just getting some extra footage for his team. And I'm secretly trying to persuade George there's these funny looking hills on Mars that need a closer look, kind of like we're taking a closer look at these structures on Earth. So it's a whole rabbit hole, but that's basically what I've been working on in a nutshell.
Cool. And your documentary was on Vimeo, and now it's coming out on Amazon soon, correct?
Yeah, it just had a really minor release on Vimeo for a little bit, and then luckily enough, long story short, I actually managed to get distribution for the film, and in August 22nd, it's going to be available on Amazon and a few other places, so that's pretty cool. It's been a long time.
That is exciting. We'll do a little premiere again and have Brian come on and talk about it when it comes out on Amazon. We got Dave and Tyrone next, but I know Josh is at work. Or Josh, do you have a limited time frame to work with here?
Yes, a little bit, but we'll be
well,
all right.
let's do you next, just in case you got to bail. Josh has first of all, we met Josh last year. He was part of our
group bro?
Last year. Yeah. And so it was me, Mike, Josh, and two twins. What were their names? I always forget, Mike.
Steve and Joe Palma outside at the Malcolm Bindle Mobile. We were checking out that plasmoid truck that they had last year.
And that's when we first met Josh. And Josh has a really cool story of how he ended up at Cosmic Summit. Please go ahead and tell us, man.
Hey, real quick, man, you got to show him that ring, bro.
I'm at work. I didn't bring it on. I don't have it on. Yeah. He's talking about I have a ring of a Tlaloc, the Aztec rain god, and yeah, he liked it a lot. So next time I'll have it on for sure.
That's the first thing I noticed about him.
Yeah. So I started getting into ancient history. You learn about Graham Hancock. With Graham Hancock comes Randall, and I also saw Ben Van Kerkwyk on JRE, and then I see this event that Randall, Ben, and Graham at the time was supposed to be there at Cosmic Summit. So I was gonna try to find my way there, one way or another. I was scouring all the websites, looking for any way I could maybe get a discount. I saw they had a volunteership. I applied for that. but it was a little too late. It was like 2 weeks, and the event was gonna happen. So I found a Facebook comment of a radio station that was giving away a ticket, and this comment only had 1 like. So I had to download an app. It was a radio station out in North Carolina, and I ended up winning. I won a megafauna pass and classroom pass. It was like over $800 worth of tickets. It was surreal. I know people say this all the time, but I never win anything. So to win something like this that I really wanted to go do, it was awesome. And yeah, so I went. I met Mike and Dave last year. I met more people this year, I would say, but last year was still really fun. I met them last year, and you just have conversations with people in the crowd. Everybody's really cool. Everybody's really approachable, and I kind of realized that I had something to say. Every conversation I had, I was teaching people a little something, and they were teaching me as well. In the back of my mind, I had always thought about making some sort of social media to, just let out my thoughts, because I tell my family about, the type of stuff that I'm into, but if they're not interested, they're not interested. So I figured out I would build some sort of platform where I could make history interesting for people that aren't even interested in history. So, those moments that you learn something while doing your research that make you go, wait, what? Or like, wait, say that again, those wow moments. And more than just teaching people, I want people to feel that same feeling that I had when I, learned about things that we find mysterious or that just don't make sense to us,
Yeah, man. And so you got a TikTok channel that's doing pretty good. Why don't you shout that out for us?
Oh yeah, I have a TikTok channel. TikTok channel.
TikTok?
I have TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I just have a few reels posted. TikTok, I'm doing the best. I think one of my videos right now has 36,000 views. I have another that's like 27 and climbing. Another video like 11K. Yeah, I just have a few posted now, but I got started maybe 4 months ago making reels. Gonna get more consistent now. That Cosmic Summit really hyped me up.
Yeah, and you can check out his. Did I say Tic Tac? I'm so old. But
I think that was
Tic Tac is those UAPs. Those UAPs keep leaving our show a little bit.
Those Tic Tacs. Yeah,
Brittany dropped his TikTok in the chat. If you're interested, go check it out. He does really good work, and it's only going to get better from here.
Yes, sir.
So I feel like you're extra motivated now, huh? After this last weekend.
Yeah. The same thing with last year. When I got back, I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to do some form of content creation. And when I got back, again, I was hyped up. It was, it was time to pull the trigger and go ahead. And this time, again, it's just like another rush you get. You want to keep going. You meet so much great people. You meet these connections. People there are telling you. Some of the speakers are telling you, hit me up. I'll help you with anything you need. And it's crazy, and it makes you want to do better and realize that you can. All these people are just people just like you. It's a great community.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. All these people are, it's when you see everyone hanging out and just partying and going to these conferences, you're sitting with all these people you see on YouTube and stuff. You're right. They are just people just like us. Want to move on to the Great Awakening, Mr. Dave Fitzpatrick, also a veteran of the Multiverse. His interview on Humans of the Multiverse on Mike and Dave's Multiverse comes out tomorrow. But he did our episode. I guess it was the Wednesday before Cosmic Summit to kind of hype up for the Cosmic. Is that right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. And it was super fun to have him on there. And he's also a 3-time, count them 1, 2, 3 attendee of Cosmic Summit. So he's the veteran of the group here. Dave, introduce yourself. Tell us how you got involved with the Cosmic Summit community.
Oh boy. So Dave Fitzpatrick, and I only have an X account and a YouTube channel known as Great Awakening. I've been into this stuff since I was a little kid, and I won't go into all the details. It'll be on that podcast that I guess airs tomorrow. But no, so I guess I would classify myself as a conspiracy theory researcher with an emphasis or an interest in ancient history. I like all aspects of this stuff. And when I first learned, I don't even remember how I learned about it, but when I first learned that George was putting on the inaugural Cosmic Summit event, I was there. I mean, and I'll tell you, I think he's hit this at a perfect time. All you have to do is see what's happening with the professional archaeologists versus the, they like to label us as the pseudo archaeologists or whatever term they want to give us in a derogatory way. And the funny thing is, the traction keeps building, and their voices are just becoming minute. And they're missing the boat. And frankly, and not to get off topic here, but I think there's a large number of professionals that probably have an interest in this stuff, but for fear of losing funding or support, they keep their mouths shut. And unfortunately, it's reaching a point, if they don't open their mouths, their professions are out the window, which is sad. But at any rate, so no, this is my third one. And it was funny. I get there, and first stop after I drop everything off at my room was the bar, just to well, check in and see who else is there. And one of the first people I meet, it's Ashish. So we actually had a pretty good chat. But man, there were so many people there that I didn't even get a chance to see. Matter of fact, you reeled off a couple that I didn't even know were there, because it was just in the beauty of this. I mean, I'm sure you'll probably talk about it. Is you sit there. I was at the coffee station. There was some gal talking about putting salt in your coffee, and I'm thinking, salt in your coffee. And the next thing you know, we're talking for 45 minutes. But that's the neat thing. And I really enjoyed talking to the first year people, because especially early on, and I told them, well, you just wait, you're hooked. You will be back. I guarantee it. But no, what a great event. And I tell you, kudos to George. I mean, the guy puts all his money on the line for this thing. And I know for a fact that I can't imagine the chore. I mean, he's right out there right now, probably just getting ready to plan for the next one. So anyway, I'll quit talking, but that's a little bit about me.
Very cool. And it was really nice to meet you in person, Dave. You're a
Likewise.
real swell guy. Yeah. If we ever make it out to Ohio, which is part of the plan, we'll definitely visit with you. And you'll be there for I guess a Grand Slam year 4, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then moving on to probably one of the oldest friends of our show, Mr. Tyrone Ellington, Rebirth of the Word. There's his book Mike is holding up there, as well as Tyrone. Tyrone got a chance to sell a few of his books in person to some people in the audience, which was pretty cool. He did an early episode of Humans of the Multiverse. He's been on our live stream a number of times. Huge supporter of our show, and it was really great to meet him in person. We basically hung out most of the weekend. And Tyrone, what was your impressions at Cosmic Summit, man, and how did you end up going?
Man, well, you guys are the ones that actually mentioned it first to me, and I looked into it, and I was like, well, yeah, then I'm gonna go. That's actually when we had our first discussion, so that was kind of interesting. But my first impression is the way people were able to sit down and actually discuss things with each other. You know what I mean? There wasn't no fighting, no bickering, no arguing. There was no back and forth. It was, I would say this, you would say that. You know, everybody talked. And actually a lot of us went back. I mean, I know for myself, went back and reevaluated some of the stuff that I needed to research, right? Because everybody put a little piece of the puzzle in those 3 days. You know what I mean? And it was like overload.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Seeing the vases and touching them. You know, I got to see Billy Carson. I got to talk to him. He promised me a podcast. Many of you already know I don't agree with the Nibiru thing. And it's only just because of what I've always talked about. You know, I do believe in extraterrestrials and stuff like that. But, you know, you guys know me. I go off of what I've read. I mean, I have a book right here just to show everybody, you know, I keep tabs on all the books that I have.
Receipts.
Yeah, and that's all I do is just read from, you know, what the source says, and that's my backup, you know, and it's not my opinion, not my theory. So it was awesome hearing everybody's opinions and theories out there, all in one, you know, little location.
I'm glad you said that, and I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but there's a few people that have, like, you've tried to talk to and show some receipts about what you've read online, and they've blocked you, and then in person they were super nice and friendly and talking to you, and that's the cool part about this kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. It's that's the best part, because, you know, I've always said it, you know, everybody's theory is based on their own emotion. You know what I'm saying? And that's why everybody uses the same sources for their arguments, right? You know, if it was a grand slam, there wouldn't be no you versus me type thing. It would be, okay, yeah, well, you know, can't argue that. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Well, we wanted to like focus on highlights of the Cosmic Summit. So Mike's going to take you guys through some easy questions just about that.
Now that we've done a roundtable of introductions, by the way, thanks to everybody who's watching the usual Mike and Dave program featuring Brittany, as well as many of our new friends and old friends who we just met in person. We're going to go around the room again and ask about which was your favorite presentation from Cosmic Summit and which was your favorite moment, meaning like non-presentation moment, person you met, conversation you had, that type of thing, or funny story. And since Britt's here with us tonight, is it all right if I start with Britt, or do you want to go after somebody else?
I'll go.
Favorite presentation or like favorite speaker that you saw, and then favorite non-presentation, just favorite moment overall.
Okay. My favorite speaker, I guess, would be the Atlantis panel. I thought that was fun hearing everyone's theories on where Atlantis is located. And my favorite moment was meeting up with you guys and getting to just all be together.
Yeah, that was cool. And so with the Atlantis thing, do you have a horse in the race, or no?
I don't know. They're all compelling. I feel like I need to read Plato.
Don't we all? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Britt. I'll move right on to Ashish with that. And I would like to point out your favorite was the Atlantis debate. Mine was Ashton Forbes' presentation. That was at the same time as Atlantis debate. There was a lot of good stuff going on at the same time throughout the conference.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch all the presentations, so I'm sad that I missed some that were at the same time as the other ones that I wanted to watch. But for me, and I might sound a little bit biased, but my favorite presentation was Praveen's. And to be honest, it was a close second, though, with Ben Vankerwick. I'm sorry, I always get tripped up on his last name. I mean, the labyrinth, I would say, is my favorite moment. My head exploded that maybe we found it, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly, if we could just look at that. But as far as the presentation, Praveen, I think what he offers and what I'm hoping to kind of flesh out a little bit is I think Hinduism is a little bit underrepresented in what it offers right now to the topic. And Praveen is doing an incredible job elevating all the different aspects of Hinduism in megalithic structures and heavily ornate carving and the history that comes from Hinduism. And I think in addition to getting the engineering to converge by these different structures, spirituality is clearly so heavily tied into the megalithic structures all around the world. And I think along the way, we need to start figuring out how to converge on the spirituality side as well. And I think what Praveen was showing is that a lot of the cultures back then had really advanced culture, like actual culture. They had makeup, they had polished nails, high heels, and so on. And that's kind of a story that a lot of people don't really hear about. They usually, what I normally hear are really barbaric ones.
It's a fascinating point, and one of the things that we want to do with this channel and with this platform is bring that information from all cultures across the globe. Everybody has something to bring to the table here, and so long as we're trapped in these old dogmatic mentalities of this person or that person figured out all the answers, we're never going to get to the bottom of things. So we want to hear it from across the globe.
Just real quick, shout out Jim Fry. Love this guy. He's always watching our show and supporting us. And yes, we do have a convergence going on, my man. Yes.
Moving onward, what did you think, Brian? Which was your favorite presentation to observe and favorite moment outside from that?
Lots of good moments. Yeah, Praveen's definitely a highlight. Robert Schock, I really dig what he's got going on there. Maybe I'm a little bit biased too. He was in my Mars documentary, but he spoke about this concept that I don't think is getting quite enough attention. And I hate to see the community want to boil it down to, well, it was either, impact or plasma discharge. It just seems like there's room for both. And given the copious amounts of evidence that Robert Schoch has presented, I just don't know how anybody looks at that and says there's nothing there. So, and, not only, Ashish, I heard you mention Grand Canyon. My ears perked up because Grand Canyon, oh boy. If you haven't seen it, you should take a look at the picture of the Grand Canyon from space. Quite an interesting revelation there when you look at that. But there are also these scars on Mars, and Robert Schoch had a lot to say about them. But beyond that, yeah, Michael Donnellan, boy, what a talent that guy is. He knocked it out of the park with the film. He's a great, charismatic guy, great on stage. He was able to handle that debate like an extreme professional. It was so impressive how he responded to essentially everybody up on stage and what their position was, and essentially deconstructed everything and boiled it down to, hey, look, let's just be practical here about the location and what the evidence, suggests here. But it's not to take away from everybody else who presented stuff on stage. Like, so maybe Danny Hillman didn't find Atlantis. Let's just say he found something. There's something there. It's worth taking a closer look at all this stuff, and whether or not you want to call it Atlantis or not. Graham Hancock highlighted this in Underworld so many years ago, and maybe he wasn't even the first, but the whole book written about these archaeological sites that are right off the coast, submerged by 300-400 feet of water. I mean, there's something there, and they bring up a really compelling case that there's this lost civilization. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's just so fascinating. But yeah, Michael Donnellan seemingly has come out of nowhere with this film and his past 8 years of work. And I got to say, I have not been following the developments related to Atlantis, but he won me over. So I'm really glad I got to meet him.
Very cool. And he was a phenomenon there. Everyone wanted to talk to him. I think he may or may not have agreed to do our show. Brittany, is that true? Yeah, she's shaking yes. So hopefully we get to see him, Michael Donnellan, Atlantica director and star on the Multiverse. Thank you, Brian.
And I do like the point you made about Atlantis, Brian. We're talking about a debate or the hunt for Atlantis, but archaeologists in the future, how would they be able to tell that Toronto and Detroit were part of two slightly different nation states that were right next to each other at the same time? Like, there may have been a global spanning civilization, and we might not get the quite name of the nation state or territory right, but that's all Atlantis to me. That, and I need to read a little more Plato myself. So, Tyrone, you just messaged you got a little bit of limited time, so if y'all don't mind, we'll bounce forward to Tyrone. Favorite presenter, favorite moment.
All right, yeah. So probably Scott Walter. I love a lot of his stuff. I actually got to talk to him, bought a book from him, got his autograph, and he said he'll do a podcast with me also. So that I'm looking forward to that. The best thing, my best moment there was, of course, meeting you guys, but it was also meeting David Hansen, one of the Atlantis debaters. His name, he likes to be called Stig. We became really close. I mean, really close. I mean, we talked. Friends for life. We're definitely going to do some things in the future. He actually says he wants to come on my show sometimes and talk about Atlantis. So that's pretty awesome. I also met one of the other debaters, Michael. I can't remember say his last name. The one was when we watched the movie or the presentation. Yeah, Donnelly. Yeah. He has a great argument too. And that's why those moments are very important to me and feel good to me. Pilot Mountain was definitely on the list. I sent you guys a video. I actually did a quick edit on it and shot up there. I know a lot of people were asking about it. It's from the beginning, from the moment he starts talking about Mother Earth, and then beating on the drums, and then I got Randall Carson in there, and also JP, the one that wrote the book Faces of the Mountain. I believe that's what it's called. I promoted it on my video. I thought it was pretty interesting because I never knew anything about Pilot Mountain until we got there, and experiencing it, taking the pictures of the pyramid and all that, the shadow and all that. It was amazing. Just being up there, period, was good. So and like I said, meeting you guys, that was a moment. It was kind of hard driving back. I was like, man, dang, this is something different right here. So it was definitely a moment. 5-hour drive just thinking about you guys and everybody that I met. So Dave, me and him ran into each other like 5-6 times, sat there and talked for a moment. So yeah, it was definitely cool. Ashish, man, I'm so glad that you got to experience that ride with up there. Hey, I got a podcast with us when we was talking on our ride up there. So I'll be presenting that also in the future. We talked about some really good things. I'd listened to it already like 3 times in background while I was reading. I was like, man, we was having a deep conversation. So yeah.
Looking forward to it.
I just wanted to shout out Mr. George Howard, promoter of Cosmic Summit. Says, hey, y'all, Tusk in the chat.
I was the one with the cowboy hat.
Hey, man, thank you so much, George, for putting that show on. We're all still buzzing from the event, and we just can't wait till next year. So let's make it bigger and badder next year.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to show up every year now. Every year. I already told my wife she's coming with me next year. We're going to get us 2 tickets. We're going to roll up there. It's already planned. Matter of fact, it's already in the books.
Very cool. And before you're done, tell everyone where they can find your stuff, Tyrone, besides rebirthoftheword.com.
I got a YouTube channel, which I was just showing you guys all the books that I read with the little tabs on there. I have a show on there, what I've learned from reading this book. I just read from the tabs and tell you what I've learned from multiple different sources. I do have a TikTok. I have a Twitter account. You look me up on there. I'm always commenting on Mike and Dave. Like I support them a lot. And that's really, I got a Spotify account too. So if you want to listen to the podcast, you can listen to the podcast in your car while you're going to work. If you're a trucker and you like to truck around, you know what I'm saying? You got that. If you want to listen to something while you fishing, you got it. So I have a lot of different things. That's mostly the only ones that I really promote. I have like a LinkedIn, but I don't really promote that. I have a Nextdoor app also. If you guys don't have that, that's for local things. It's like the Twitter, Facebook of your neighborhood. So yeah, that's about it. I appreciate you guys letting me come on.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you guys. I'm definitely going to do this again. We're definitely going to talk in the future. Hey, all you guys, Dave, man. It was awesome meeting you, Josh. Bro, that ring, you got to wear that ring, man, next time, bro. You got to show that ring off. All right, you guys take care. Have a nice one.
Peace out. And everyone, you can find Tyrone's Rebirth of the Word YouTube channel in the chat, as well as check out his bestseller, Journey Through the Origins of History, on Amazon. Peace out, Tyrone.
Hi, Tyrone. It was great meeting you in person. And good point about the Pilot Mountain. That was another huge highlight. Shout out to Mr. Jim McKelvey for giving us an excellent tour demonstration at Pilot Mountain on the summer solstice. If that's not cosmic, I don't know what is.
Correct.
Moving right onward, Mr. Dave Fitzpatrick, favorite presenter, favorite moment? Let's hear it.
Well, I could pick any of them. I mean, they were all really good, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Ben's Van Kerkwick's presentation.
Mm-hmm.
I know he has really been researching the hell out of the labyrinth and where it was located and all that for some time. And it was quite apparent in his presentation. But I don't know. I think that's like you mentioned, that's at least the find of the century, if not the millennia, if it actually is down there.
Mm-hmm.
And he sure gave some compelling evidence that it is where he thinks it is. So that'll be something to watch in the future. Boy, my gosh, I could also go with Robert Schoch's presentation. Again, the whole, I agree with Brian there with regards to the idea that you could have maybe a plasma event off the sun, which frankly could have been associated with some kind of ejecta, as a result of whether it was a micronova or whatever you want to call it. But I think that's in the future, that would actually be a pretty good debate. Maybe get somebody like Ben Davidson or one of the guys that are pushing the idea that it's a micronova event that periodically occurs through time, and then have somebody from the Comet research team up at doing a dual presentation of some sort. But as far as moment, again, I'd probably go back with the first timers. I actually brought one, a buddy of mine. He's an electrical engineer, Greg. This was his first. I've been trying from the first year on to get his butt there. I told him, I'm telling you, you're going to have a blast. And here he is. He actually brought Jim over to talk about the whole Pilot Mountain thing, the solstice and all. And we had a great discussion. He actually was just here in Ohio visiting one of the mound sites that tracks the 18.6-year lunar cycle, and had a great story to tell about that when he came up here. But anyway, I opened the door for him, as I am for any of you guys. If you are ever up here in Ohio, definitely look me up. You got a place to stay, I'll show you around. So, no, all around, it was a great time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And I think that's also an excellent idea about getting the debate in a more cosmic direction next time. So I think the debate feature is good, because obviously one of the things we like to brag about is that not everyone agrees with each other on the billing of this conference. And
Exactly.
and impact versus micronova type of debate, I think that would be really interesting to hear next time around.
I do too. I just wanted to point out, though, I feel like the debate should be like main stage on Saturday or Sunday for everyone to see.
Yes.
It was was it Sunday morning or Monday morning, wasn't it? It wasn't until Monday morning. Yeah, I just feel like if they have a debate again, that should be like front and center for everyone to be at. But that's just me.
I wonder if there's another impact there in South Carolina from today.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
you guys got a show down your way.
My niece saw that, by the way. If you forgot, for those of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, there was an airburst that a bunch of people saw that caused like minor tectonic activity and everything. And my niece saw it while she was playing tennis this morning. But I think around 11 a.m., a comet or I don't know, asteroid, whatever you want to call it, blew up in above Atlanta, basically, and landed somewhere in South Carolina. So normally we'd cover that on tonight's show, but we're covering Cosmic Summit. So
Yep. Moving onward, Mr. Josh the Ancient, favorite presenter and favorite moment?
Favorite presenter. So I like the Explorers Club panel a lot because they remind me again of people just like me, just out there, boots on the ground, trying to make something out of nothing. And I think my favorite out of the group was Raul Belecki from Pillars of the Past.
yeah.
So what he does is he finds sites on Google Maps. Sometimes he has to rewind the time, to get a better picture on Google Maps. I didn't know if you could do that. You could look at older pictures from past years on Google Maps. And he finds sites in Peru, and he plans expeditions, and he goes out there by himself with a truck and a drone, and he gets this awesome footage. He shows all of the looting that's going on in Peru. He's trying to raise awareness. But what I liked most was at the end of his presentation, he was letting it be known that he has a program that's going to be up and running in a month, I believe he said, his own website. And it's going to be a map where you could basically map any site that you find, or, undocumented sites and stuff like that. And it reminded me, I let him know, I had a conversation with him after, and he was just as excited as me about it when I told him that I found a map of prehistoric sites in my city. So I live in Southern California. I live in a town, Moreno Valley. I would have had no clue if I didn't find this map that, there was something still there, I guess, because, most of the city is built over. But there's a few mountains here and there. And in those mountains, I counted upwards of like 60 milling stations that I can go find, along with rock petroglyphs. some piles of midden, stone projectiles, all throughout the city. And I only looked through a few of the areas because it's like a map and it's so vague. It looks like somebody circled a mountain with a marker and is like, oh, in here somewhere on the east flank, there's stone projectiles, and south of the peak, and the mountain is huge, so it's gonna be fun. I have plans to do a mini expedition up there and
Cool.
try to find some of these sites, document them. Hopefully that website is up and running so I can go ahead and post pictures, put it on the map. And yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome for people, like me that want to make something out of nothing. You could find sites in your own city, whether you knew it or not. You're not going to find a pyramid or anything like that, but it's still cool that you could scratch that itch in your own city, just a 10-15 minute drive away.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, because we learned from talking to Chris Cottrell that there's these Carolina Bays on our side of the continent, all over the place. I mean, I probably driven through a bunch of them and didn't even realize it. So, yeah, that's a good point. And there's stuff in our area like the Rock Eagle effigy mound that we haven't been to yet, and it's totally in driving distance. So, I like that inspiration, Josh. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get going, guys. All right.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you for having me on, and can't wait to do it again.
See you, Josh. Nice meeting you.
Later.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my favorite speakers were Scott Wolter and Praveen. I buy what Scott Wolter's selling. I don't even care. He's just a great speaker. He's very dynamic. The cool part is, if you saw his lecture last year, he left a cliffhanger for this year. And so he continued his presentation through field research and field exploration into the next Cosmic Summit. I think he's the only guy who did that. So I'm just putting that out there. Praveen, though, last year, Praveen presented on like carvings and evidence of ancient Indian medical technology, which I thought was awesome and mind-blowing. But I was hoping this year he'd do exactly what he did, which was present a much more general view of ancient India, because I don't think that everyone gets Peru, Egypt, Mexico, Turkey. We're always talking about these places. India is the most mind-blowing place on earth, and it doesn't get the play that it should. I'm telling you. And earlier on, when Ashish was talking, he mentioned Kailasa Temple, and this thing looks like it was carved by like a laser printer or something in stone. It's ridiculous. And to me, it's in the top 3 most enigmatic sites in the world, maybe even top 1. And Praveen was conservative about challenging the conventional dates of 800 to 900 years that these things were built, but he does that because being conservative is a good thing when you're talking about the ancient past. But I know he knows, and most of us are looking at that stuff, know that wasn't built 800 or 900 years ago. Most of that stuff, it just wasn't. And they. In the documents say, and Ashish might be able to speak on this more, but the documents really legitimately say that this stuff is thousands of years old. So if you don't know Praveen Mohan, you're watching right now, check out his YouTube channel. There's dozens, if not hundreds of hours of him visiting all these ancient sites that you've never seen before. And he's walking around explaining every little detail of these sites, and it's incredible. So if you saw Praveen Mohan for the first time this weekend, he ended his his speech with, "This is the tip of the iceberg." It literally is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to India, and you could see it on his channel. And he's the only guy out there whose channel is like basically just going. Ben's a very similar channel, going to each different site, Ben Van Kerkwyk, and like just walking around and pointing out individual tiny little things that you may not notice in just a documentary or whatever. But man, Praveen Mohan blew it out of the water. And then my favorite moment was kind of a weird thing that happened. I'm gonna share 2, but the first one was we were going to be going out and interviewing people, Mike and I, just in the lobby area, and being filmed by Nick from Occult Rejects. And Mike got like sidelined by David Stig Hansen and ended up in a conversation.
Shout out to Stig. I was going to shout out Stig when Tyrone mentioned him. Stig is a really cool guy. It was fun getting to meet him this weekend.
Yes, it was. And thank you for the wings, Stig. He bought me wings. Thank you so much. We got to chat over dinner, and then he took off and brought the rest of his wings to Tyrone, and left me by myself, but that's okay. I meant to go have dinner by myself anyway. That was part of the plan. But Trevor Grassi was a bit of an enigma. If you guys, for those who don't know, Trevor Grassi is the guy who originally broke the Khafre Pyramid Project story. And he wasn't like around all the time. When he was usually talking to people, but I started talking to him, and Brittany asked if she could take a picture of us. And next thing you know, Nick from Occult Rejects is handing him a mic, like to hold in his hand. So I just start interviewing him like sideline reporter style. And we stood there for about 10 minutes and interviewing and talking to him. So that's going to come out sometime this weekend. I just got hold of that from Nick. But thank you so much, Nick, for forcing me into that moment, because I got a really good interview with Trevor Grassi. So that was pretty cool. And then lastly, and this might be Mike's too, but I'm sorry, I'm going to take a lot of, I have to tell this story. Okay. So Mike and I, Sunday night, was it Sunday? Yeah, Sunday night, we're sharing a room. We're ready for bed. We're like watching the Y-Files and we're going to bed. And then Brittany texts us and she's like, hey, we got invited to a private party in someone's room for drinks. We're like, whose room, whose party? She's like, I don't know. And so we're like, should we go? I don't know. Should we go? We went back and forth. We said, screw it. We're going to regret it if we don't go. So I get dressed. I put my stuff on. We go in there, walk in there, and basically all the most famous people at the event are in George Howard's room, the 28th floor, the presidential suite. And Mike and Brittany and I believe, don't correct me if I'm speaking wrong for you guys, but we all had a collective like panic attack in that moment because we really didn't know what we were walking into. And so there's like Billy Carson talking to Praveen Mohan in $10,000 suits and stuff like that. And I'm going, holy shit. And I got my typical sweatpants on and whatnot. So we get 2 hours into this party. We're talking to different people. Shout out to those two dudes, those Anunnaki Pass guys that talked to Mike and I the whole night during that whole party. They saved the day for us. But towards the end, we're making our way out saying goodbye. And we stop and we talk to Phil Dubois, which I didn't know that was his name before, but he's going to be coming on the show. And I can't remember. Do you guys remember his name? The ponytail guy that owned the company, who did all the media presentation. Brian, do you know his name? And tall ponytail, looks like I don't know, looks Swedish or something. No, anybody?
Who's this? No.
Sorry.
He owns the company that Beckett and the other camera guy were the guys that were doing all the production. And this is the guy who owns the company.
He was the other videographer walking around.
Yes, correct. And
I remember Beckett. There's a guy named Trevor. There's a guy named
Trevor. That's him. Yep, that's him.
Yeah.
So those two dudes are standing there. They start talking to us. They mention, oh, we've seen your show. Mike and I geek out a little bit on that. And I noticed that this dude kept staring at me. I'm thinking, what the fuck is this guy staring at, right? Why does he keep looking at me weird? And I'm thinking, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden, he just breaks whatever conversation's going on. He looks right at me and he goes, is that logo inside out on your shirt? And I look down and I have wearing this Wounded Warrior Project polo that was literally inside out because, as I told you guys, we were in bed. I was half asleep, okay? And so I spent 2 hours at this like high roller party on the 28th floor. Everyone was drunk, so it doesn't matter. But like, there I am. I played it cool, though, did I not, Mike and Brittany? I played that really cool.
You played it really cool. This is where I determined that Praveen and Billy Carson had the two best suits of the outfit. And for what it's worth, as a friend, I should have told you your shirt was inside out. I didn't notice it until after we were up in the room and had been up. Like, I should have noticed it on the elevator and said, hey, stop right now. I didn't notice it until we were already up there, and it was too late to say anything about it. So I'm sorry.
No, I'm not even embarrassed. I literally took it like a champ. It was funny. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I wasn't going to take off my shirt and switch it inside out, put it back on again. I just owned it, man. Fuck it, right?
Also, shout out to the other two guys that we met. I chatted with some guy about playing in a band. He plays in a band. for the evening up there. That was fun.
Yeah. Mike, what was your favorite moment and favorite speaker?
Well, like I had mentioned, Ashton Forbes, when we showed the picture with Ashton, I thought he had a really strong presentation because we follow sort of the UAP side of things as well on this channel, Forbidden Tech or 0 Point Technology. I think this stuff has been figured out for decades. I read the biography of Thomas Townsend Brown, And for favorite moments, I agree with all the above, all the meeting in person, hanging out in person, getting to buy books in person from the speakers, from a friend, from one of the speakers, that type of thing. I already can't wait for next year. I'm ready for a break. I was pretty sleep deprived by the end, but I'm ready for the next one.
Oh my gosh, I was sleep deprived as well. I felt like Ashish managed himself pretty well. He was always going, "All right, guys, I'm out. I'm going to bed." Not the rest of us didn't have that kind of discipline.
And I was working on Phoenix time, so it was a little odd for me to wake up that early.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and so you one of the things you were trying to do, Ashish, was you bought the Anunnaki Pass because you wanted to meet the man, the myth, the legend, Randall Carlson, and tell him about what you've been working on. Did you get the opportunity to do that, and how did it go?
I did finally get the opportunity to talk to him, and he didn't tell me I was stupid, so that's a good thing. He basically told me email him, but he heard me out. And I think I tried to isolate a few of the most critical variables that I think matter. And what is really important is a little bit about what you were talking about on timeline. I think we need to start building up some evidence around some issues with the current understanding of timelines. And I think the Grand Canyon offers some evidence in that direction. And what I was saying earlier before about how difficult it is to cut through granite, even with modern machinery. Well, the reason why I'm really interested in South Asian and Southeast Asian megalithic structures is because they're using basalt to make a lot of those structures, which is even harder than granite. And so the Kailasa Temple example, which you've got to see Praveen's video on Kailasa Temple. What's unique about this one is that it's carved by cutting out the negative space in the side of a mountain, a basalt stone mountain. And you have to really wrap your head around how absurdly difficult it is to cut top down the negative space of a temple structure this large, and with the ornate carvings that they have all throughout, and including carvings where they go even behind some sculptures. And of course, they have to carve out the negative space inside the rooms and everything like that. Truly, truly impossible. At this point, it's fair to say that this is just an impossible thing. And this structure exists still. So how does such an impossible structure exist, especially at that scale? And Praveen, I mean, just to fanboy a little bit about him, what I think that Indian architecture offers is a lot of the flavor text that is missing out of the other megalithic structures. So one issue with megalithic structures around the world is just the sheer amount of erosion and damage that has occurred from people invading and doing this, that, trying to intentionally destroy a lot of these structures. Well, one advantage that India has is that it's a very, very old civilization that was, for the majority of history, protected by the Himalayas from a lot of invaders, really until Alexander the Great, for the most part. And
really quick, really quick, Ashish. Bye, Mom. Love you. Have a great night. Sorry, continue.
The megalithic structures in India, not only are they very large and heavily engineered and all these things, but there are many of them that have retained their original ornate carvings that go along with them. So think of these kind of like the equivalent of the hieroglyphs, but for India, something like that, just to overlay a concept. And you had mentioned earlier that there's a temple that really describes advanced medical techniques, including surgery and deep understanding of internal organs and all this stuff. It's stuff that doesn't even come remotely close to what we think primitive civilizations of that era would be capable of even thinking about. So yeah, I think that so another big issue with India is that India used to be a lot larger, and so a lot of the structures that are in Thailand, Southeast Asia, that all used to be part of India in long ago history, and so a lot of them are Hindu inspired, and you'll see a lot of Hindu carving in Southeast Asian megalithic structures. So this is where I think we have a lot to find out, where we can get some of this flavor text, this culture, and get away from this idea that these are really primitive cultures that were not really advanced in how they think, and most of them were in slave-related kind of trades.
Fascinating insight. And I think you're right. As part of the tendency of modern archaeology to sort of paint these old cultures as well, they were obsessed with rituals and performing these intricate aspects of religion. There's a lot of practical technology that goes into being able to build and construct things. You do those things for reasons, not just rituals.
I want to pose one kind of interesting thing. Now, I don't know anything about this, but I just want to give, again, a little bit more meaning behind what I mean by flavor text. And so this is nothing I know much about. I'm not trying to die on this hill, but I just want to plant an idea in people's heads. So in Hinduism, we have this god named Krishna, which maybe many of you have heard. And I don't know too much about Western religion, but what has been told to me is there are Western religions that have stories that overlay really cleanly with Hinduism stories. And so the story of Krishna goes something like this. In the beginning, he's floating down a river in a basket and he's found. And there's a lot about the early life of Krishna that is known. But what ends up happening, if you read the old translations in Sanskrit about Krishna, is when he's an adult, roughly around the age of 30 or something in this range, he ends up leaving India and traveling west. And just off of the naming alone, you get a little bit of a hint. If you just reverse the N and the A at the end of Krishna, you get Christian. And my understanding is that there's a story about Moses floating down a river in a basket in a very similar way. And the story of Jesus Christ, and now someone will have to correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I'm totally illiterate on this, but what has been told to me is that in the story of Jesus Christ, there's not a lot that is known about Jesus's early life, other than the story around the birth. But then there's a lot that is known about his adult life around the same age, around 30 or something like this. And Hinduism talks a lot about stories of people both leaving India and going west, and then also a lot of people coming from other places and coming to India. And I think that there's directionally, maybe I'm not right, maybe I'm totally wrong about all this. But what I'm trying to say is that I think it would be a false assumption to make that there is no value to trying to figure out if there are cross similarities between these different stories and start looking for commonalities. Because like what I'm trying to say is that if we start doing some pattern recognition on just the structures alone, and there's so many of these to look at, we're going to start to find some commonalities and figure out what the function is of these structures. I think we need to start doing that on all levels, including spirituality.
Very interesting. And that our brains are pattern recognition machines. So like that's part of what they do. And Brian knows a lot about that with the pattern recognition, because people always say that stuff on Mars, it's pareidolia, right? But then when he was showing me before the Atlantica premiere, Brian came over and showed me like a handful of pictures where there's like, he showed me a few dozen, but there's more than that, of these triangles on Mars, basically perfect triangles, heavily eroded. I wanted to ask Brian, could you speak on those a little bit? And then also on the Atlantica, I know you spoke about it a little bit more, but you're a filmmaker. What made that a good film? So that's two questions there.
All right, so let's talk about Atlantica. Atlantica, I mean, the quality of the production, in my opinion, okay. What could we possibly compare Atlantica to? If we look at Graham Hancock's Ancient Aliens, I mean, that is top level Hollywood production there. This is obviously not that level of production, but still I think it holds its own for being an independent production. It's got great cinematography. The sound is good. The host is amazing. It shows us things we haven't seen before. I mean, it's sort of breaking news here. So, you know, versus as much as we all love Ancient Apocalypse, these are sites we're familiar with, you know. So the one advantage that Atlantica has is like it's showing us stuff we haven't seen before. I mean, this is really such a remarkable achievement. He's worked on it for so long and has introduced something new to the whole conversation. So there's more than just a documentary here. In my opinion, this is really, you know, making history here. This work of his and this documentary. Dave, I'm sorry. What was the other question?
I wanted to comment quickly on the documentary as well. Yeah, a good point that they showed us something new, and there was a lot of buzz that night, wasn't there, guys? Like everyone was like excited to see that. We all stayed up way too late because we were up way too late the night before, but everyone hung in there and watched the documentary, and it was worth it, man. And so I just want to say that. The other question was I transitioned from Ashish talking about pattern recognition of all these different sites on Earth, and that transitions onto your work, which is like taking a closer look at Mars and the triangles you came over and showed me, which you're blowing my mind right before the documentary. So if you wanted to share a quick little hit on that, you met somebody who showed you some new stuff.
Well, my expertise is not in the research itself. My expertise is in finding the researchers who do the hard work of sifting through thousands of NASA photographs to come up with a lot of interesting discoveries. Actually, since you brought this up, Dave, would you mind if I just shared that one picture that I showed you?
Oh, of course, man. Of course. Yeah, please.
Let's see.
I would like to know what everybody else here thinks. Okay. So I'll click share screen and you can tell me, let's see. Well, this one. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Is that sharing? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll unhide that. Oops.
Sorry.
So this is a friend of mine. His name is Gary. He lives in Colorado, and you know, not many people know about him or the work that he does. He's one of the individuals that I feature in my film. He scours Google Earth Pro, which is a program you can just download for free. It actually has a Mars setting, so it allows you to just look at Mars and drag it around and zoom in and zoom out and just find all sorts of features. So Google Earth Pro is, of course, populated by images taken from NASA and European Space Agency, but he has found dozens of these what I call triangles, and each one of these things you're seeing here was an image that was taken from an orbiting satellite, and each one of these features is about 3/4 of a mile to a mile in length, and I'm just trying to figure out. Thanks, East 10. You're cool too, man. I'm just trying to figure out what natural process could possibly explain these things. If any of you have any idea, I would love to know.
Ashish?
The fact that those are so big, thanks for providing that scale for reference, because kilometers long, goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything off the top of my head. I mean, we have to be careful. It's a different atmosphere. So conventional wisdom may not necessarily apply, but I would have to think about it.
My favorite of these is the one on the top left. I mean, it appears to be what looks like a tetrahedron shaped pyramid with this long line underneath of it. I'm just thinking, what geological process creates even just the line? And then you see these lines on these other ones over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some, a lot of people like the one on the bottom right, which appears to be some sort of crater with the triangle inside of it. These are just such a mystery to me, and this is just a small handful of what my buddy Gary has found. So we present all these in the film, and anyway, I don't want to get this off track. We're here to talk about Cosmic Summit, but I do think there's some interesting overlap. Dude, okay, let me actually, Dave, if you don't mind, can I just show one more image that does relate a little bit more?
You're good, man. Yeah,
this
please.
is on track.
Let me just share one more image that relates a little bit more to Cosmic Summit. All right, now, guys, tell me there's nothing to see here.
Yeah, you were showing me this one as well. I'd never seen this before, but that is a 4-sided, possibly 8-sided, like the Great Pyramid with a, it looks
smaller, 4-sided entryway.
Yes, correct. That merits further study. Like if I'm Elon in 20 years, I'm landing something right there and taking a look at that. That is very interesting to me.
For scale here, does anybody want to take a guess on how big this thing is?
Over, under Teotihuacan.
It's bigger than Teotihuacan.
Okay. So twice the size?
This thing is 2.5 miles big.
Jeez.
Wow. Wow.
Now, my argument here is that if you were to take Teotihuacan and cover it up with some dust and some dirt, accumulated over 1,000 years, 500,000 years, 1,000,000 years, wouldn't it look something like what we have here on the left? I mean, wouldn't you expect it to have at least that shape? You see, with Teotihuacan, you're seeing those angles, right? Mm-hmm. With each level of it, they're precise angles. But as you guys very well know, there are unexcavated pyramids here on Earth in which, if you're looking at it from top down, you don't see those precise angles. What do you see? You see basically a hill, sometimes with trees on top of it, and it's not
or a jungle.
It's not until you start LiDAR scanning that you can see, oh Jesus, there's a structure underneath this dirt. So now I realize that if this is something that's you're seeing for the first time, you've never seen any of this before, believe me, I get it. Any one image, I'm fully aware that any one image is not going to be enough to move the needle on anything. But what I'll say is that this is just one of dozens of geometrical structures that seemingly have symmetry and in some cases interesting alignments, but the alignments is less of the argument here. It's really just the symmetry and the geometry and how unnatural things seem and how they just seem out of place. So anyway, the gentleman who found this is a South African. His name is John Ward, and he's just another one of these independent Mars researchers who goes and sifts through thousands of images and finds interesting things like this. And I just don't know how anybody with any common sense looks at this and says there's absolutely nothing to see here. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying this is proof positive of anything. That's I try not to use language like that. I try to say, hey, look, this is interesting. Let's take a closer look at it.
Very cool. And that goes right along with the theme of the Cosmic Summit, where sometimes we're pondering questions where it's simply hard to gather definitive evidence to make definitive answers like that. We just need to gather all the evidence that we can. And that information from Mars is compelling, very compelling. As we move onward in the show, I want to yield to Mr. Dave Fitzpatrick. As a 3-time veteran of the Cosmic Summit, I'm sure you're glad to see the conference grow and mature. What are you most looking forward to in a future summit? What are your ideas that we need in a future summit?
Oh boy. You know what? Give me a few minutes to think on that one. I mean, you could tell by the answers that everybody gave as far as who their favorite presenter was. It's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree. I think more information on India. China's another one.
Yes.
That's just sitting out there. There's so much that we've yet to find out about, and I think a lot of it, like other places around the globe, is intentionally being kept from us. But and even Egypt, there's so much that's clearly still under the sand. So I mean, there's just a plethora of topics that could be discussed, all in the realm here. So
Good point on Egypt. Obviously, the Italian research team with the SAR scans was one of the highlights of the weekend. I think for everybody, their case is becoming stronger in my mind after repeated exposures to it. But let's just point out to the audience, they are beginning the formal peer review process. So in my mind, there's two stages to this. People should be able to fly their own satellites in the same area and get the same raw data back. And or people should be able to take the raw data, even if it's the raw data set from the Italian research group. They should be able to process and process that data and get the same similar results. Because there's two parts to that technology: the initial satellite scans themselves, and then the algorithm for processing the data. And it's probably something we'll get an update on by next year, if not much before.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because we hadn't talked about it yet on tonight's show, but that was kind of the centerpiece of the weekend. That was the big ticket. That was Saturday afternoon where they sold the most tickets. It was the busiest. It was by far the most attended presentation. I'd like to ask the group, I'll go first, but did that presentation by those guys in person move the needle for you at all? Like, I was up in the air. Like, again, I'm a social worker. I don't know the technology or anything like that, but I didn't see the correlation between the data that they were showing and then the 3D generated model. He actually said that they didn't create that, didn't he? Or did he say that they did? I can't remember. But either way, I walked away from that presentation like feeling about 80% on that technology. I need to see it repeated a bunch of times, and obviously needs to get peer reviewed, but that moved the needle for me. How about you, Ashish?
Yeah, I was really interested in that presentation, and I forgot to take pictures. Does anybody by any chance have pictures of the actual Doppler scans that they showed at that presentation?
I guarantee you Tyrone does.
Yeah.
If anyone has them here and we could show just specifically the pictures that show the columns, I can talk a little bit about how to understand what they're trying to say.
Are you able to find those things?
In my realm. Obviously, this technology is way more advanced than anything I've ever worked on, but I kind of understand the gist.
Are you able to grab those, Dave, or are they somewhere not findable?
I'm not. No, I
can just describe something that you can maybe remember from one thing that was really heavily discussed was the images are showing columns coming underneath the pyramids, and it appears, at least from the AI representation that they had made off of the noise scans, it appears that there's some sort of spiral type structure going around these columns. For people who don't know, what it's really trying to do, what the technology is trying to do, is it's trying to meddle the subtle vibrations that are occurring from the actual structure itself, and they're trying to reverse, it's called backpropagation. They're trying to backpropagate the actual noise from the structure and isolate specifically that and ignore all the other noise, which is a tremendously, let's call it, advanced technique. But in terms of like, does the theory make sense? Does the math seem like it's something that is possible? I can tell you yes, that there is a logic that does apply here that I can tell you is real, and that the math behind it is possible. One way to just visually see a little bit of confirmation about this technique actually working from their actual scans if you look at the columns, one of the interesting things that happens that they showed is that high up, near ground elevation, you'll see that the columns are very deep red. And this is getting a lot of signal coming from these columns in this area. But then as soon as the columns hit the water table, the noise dampens abruptly. It's not a smooth change at all. It's abrupt. Mm-hmm. And this lends more credence to the idea that their technique is actually working, because that's exactly the effect that you would expect water to have on this technique. And so the fact that the noise is getting diminished right when it hits the water table perfectly, that adds more credibility to the technique that they're doing, because it's exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the big critique everyone had was, isn't there a water table down there? How could they, and so you're saying that that the technology actually recognizing the water table confirms its validity. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Brian, did it move the needle for you from what you had heard before versus after their presentation?
I was sort of already intrigued by it, like everybody else. Whenever you can have more data to it. I mean, look, is it that hard to believe that there's something weird and funky going on there underneath the pyramids? Just look at how many mysteries that we've got here on this planet relating to these old sites. When we think we've got something figured out, we don't. I mean, there's a whole hell of a lot of things that are going on here, and to just think that. So obviously, thank goodness for this crowd pushing the envelope and really supporting those who are going out to these sites, doing this arduous work, scanning and just they're in-person, hands-on investigative tactics to get this information for the rest of us to enjoy. So look, I mean, there's something down there. I mean, there's just so many mysteries. Land of Chem has an interesting YouTube channel. Yeah. It's amazing what that guy's been put together. His analysis of the pyramids being chemical factories. I mean, it's awfully compelling stuff. These people are spending their time. I mean, why shouldn't we be listening more closely to what they have to say? I mean, just look at another comparison is here. Robert Schoch discovering the little chamber beneath the Sphinx paw. I mean, there's probably stuff buried all over the place. And if we still don't know definitively what the hell these pyramids were for, they're so huge, we don't even know how they were made exactly. Why wouldn't there be these long columns down there that do something we have no idea? Like, sure, man. Like just get a shovel, let's start digging,
Yeah. And Captain Ulysses' presentation on the deliberate burial of Egypt was quite compelling as well. So
I just want to make a comment on the Sphinx. They say the most ironic and entertaining outcome is the most likely sometimes. And just think, if the secrets of the universe were underneath the left paw of a cat, how fitting would that actually be?
Edgar Casey prophecy.
All the cat people would be like, "See, I told you."
Well, let me chime in to Brian's point there.
Yeah.
The Osiris shaft. Now, I've been down there, and you get down to the third level. I mean, you're way down there, and the water table comes up at that third level, and you can actually, there is a dry area there, but you can peer out where the water is, and there are 3 boxes in the 2 other in that level and the one above, 3 total. But if you were to wade out there, there's one under the water. Ben, I don't know if it was his presentation or if I was talking to him. He's actually made it out around the bend. It's hard to explain this without showing it to you, but and there is additional tunnels that branch off of there and potentially also go further down. So why in the hell isn't somebody just researching that? Hawass was down there, and he brought the thing to the public's attention. but now why not go further? And let's see let's see, does it dead end somewhere? I mean, looking at, I wish I had the stuff to share, but looking at the images that were presented, I mean, it appeared to show that shaft goes much further down. So, and on the appearance, at least from what Ben has seen, there's an indication that would match up right there. So,
we need more engineers.
I'm glad you mentioned the Osiris shaft, because I found that to be one of the most compelling slides from the Italian research team. Just with the known dimensions of the Osiris shaft that we're aware of, they were that was a really strong slide that says, okay, they're able to image and replicate things that we know about. So there's something to be said for what else they're producing.
Yeah.
Ashish?
I wanted to comment about, so we need more engineers. We need to be, this is a multidisciplinary, the construction of these is indicating that this is multidisciplinary. This is going to be engineered using multiple concepts at the same time. And we're seeing in some cases that these granite cuts that they're doing are nearly 5,000 times better than our best available today. The degree of precision that they're able to achieve. And again, the same thing we're seeing with the vases. We're seeing it with all over the world and all these different megalithic structures, not just in one localized place. This is repeated, and it's not isolated to a single culture. So we really do need to bring engineers in, because I think, and then of course with not just Land of Chem figuring out the chemistry, but also figuring out the granite structures, the machining that Uncharted X and History of Granite have done a lot of work on. I think that if you combine these three elements, we're going to really figure out what's going on here. And I think it's going to happen pretty soon, not like we're going to wait till, you know, the end of our lives to actually figure it out. No, I think we're actually a lot closer than you might think. Something that is really interesting to me about restrictions that have been placed on all these megalithic structures. Consistently around the world, at these megalithic structures, we're having a lot of difficulty ever getting into the inside and seeing or getting detail of the inside of a lot of these structures. Some of it is like, oh, no funding, not enough interest in this, that. But even, for example, like the Taj Mahal. And the Taj Mahal, you can see basically what is publicly like visible on the surface. But people don't know that there are many layers of structures underneath the Taj Mahal that most people have just never seen. And not only do they like gate it off, but they sometimes seal them off completely to make sure that no one can ever get in. And it would be, again, some sort of pattern recognition that's going on here. It would be interesting if this was just, it would not be that interesting if this only happened at one structure. But the fact that we consistently face a lot of resistance towards mapping, probably one of the most interesting things that we would ever want to learn about, the resistance behind it is starting to look very suspicious. Because wouldn't we want, like, are these structures really just beautiful on the outside and that's it, but the inside has nothing to offer all over the world every single time? Or they only did all of this ornate and incredible engineering on the outside, but the inside is just garbage and primitive. And that there's nothing to be yielded or gained from all these hundreds of thousands of structures around the world from mapping the inside of these things. I think that's too far-fetched.
Yeah. Right. And I just want to mention that it's not that the anthropological work that archaeology and Egyptology do is unhelpful. And they do some technical things that are useful to uncovering these, you know, what happened in our ancient past. But I think the days of it being like only done by those guys is over, right? Robert Schoch kind of broke that barrier back in 1991 or 1993 when he first walked in as a geologist and said, hey, wait a second, right? And there's been pushback we're looking at been over 30 years now, right? But I think that it's going to get, it's going to get broken through. Like we're going to hit a point of no return where everyone's contributing. I just wanted to shout out this Alex dude. He says, hi, Ashish. I'm an engineer and I'm looking to get involved. Maybe you guys could have a conversation. If he could get a hold of you on X or something. I don't know if he's on X.
Same with Ancient Vacuum. Thanks for joining in the chat.
Yeah, Ancient Vacuum's been all up in the chat, and he's got or she, I don't know, has got a YouTube channel as well. But this is the information age on steroids right now, guys. We all have access to the wealth of human knowledge, and we can all work together to find out what the heck's down there.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, we need more Matt Bells to fund this shit, because this shit is expensive. It's expensive to dig these holes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and like Ashish said, that actually reminded me of Eric von Daniken. I was trying to find the exact quote, but somewhere back in the original Chariots of the Gods, he calls for like an interdisciplinary scholastic field day. There needs to be an interdisciplinary effort to really uncover the past. And he was calling for that over, 50 years ago. And we're part of the movement. It's going slow, but it's finally beginning to take steam.
For sure. And we're moving towards 2 hours. So Mike, why don't you hit the closeout music nice and low? We'll have everyone
Hey, Dave.
Yes,
Dave,
what's up?
Can I just add one quick thing here?
Yes,
Go ahead.
for sure.
The reshot structure.
Yeah.
It's an interesting structure, and I think there's some people who are making the case for that being the location of Atlantis. Regardless of what it is, it's just a fascinating geological formation. What most people don't know is that there's something just like it on Mars. I support the idea that it is a type of electrical scarring, or as Shock would say, plasma scarring. So it's so huge here on Earth. I don't know how anybody would have made it, constructing it, but there's something just like it on Mars, which makes you wonder, if there was a discharge between our two planets that created it at the same time. I don't know.
Do you have the picture on hand?
Interesting.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Let's
just
compare.
because.
Let's do a live comparison. This is great. We've got the reshot structure here, of course.
David Stig Hansen was representing the reshot structure in the Atlantis debate. Mr. Jimmy Corsetti, I'm a big fan of his. He is all in on the reshot structure. Jimmy's able to basically use Plato to basically solidify his claim to the reshot structure. My problem with it is just too damn big. But what do I know? Brian's sharing, so let's switch that. Oh, what the fuck? I didn't know that was there. That's wild.
Wow.
I don't have the exact measurements of this, but this is an orbiter photograph. So just imagine it's the size of a canyon, rather a crater, and a giant impact crater.
Wow. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Was that in the doc?
No, I learned about it afterwards. So this is why I do the work on YouTube, continue the work, because I'm continuing to learn new things. I'm like, well, I got to cover it in some way, but it's just an interesting crossover that we have this odd feature, this one and only odd feature here on Earth, and then there's something just like it on Mars. And I've asked Shock about this. I'm like, what do you think of this? You think this is an electrical or plasma discharge scar? Because electrical and plasma discharge leaves different kinds of scarring. There's different ways that it scars depending on what exactly how it's interacting with the magnetic field, I guess. And he was open to the idea that it was an electrical or plasma discharge scar, but since he never has been there, he's not going to say with certainty one way or the other until he goes and investigates it for himself, which is probably not going to happen due to the remote location and difficulty getting there. But I'd love to hear another geologist explain how something like this is made.
Have you asked John Brandenburg about this thing?
This one specifically, no. I should.
I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about that.
Yeah. Anyway.
That is wild.
Wow. No, sorry. I didn't know that was there.
When Plato said beyond the pillars of Heracles, that's really a fairly like wide set of places. It could be a whole lot of different places up to and including Mars, because you've got to pass, I guess, through the Straits of Gibraltar before maybe you can launch a rocket from inside of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Atlantis in a lot of places, folks. There's a lot of uncovered mysteries that we need to look into.
When I think about Atlantis, I think about a global civilization, and as Mike mentioned, what's the difference between Detroit and Toronto, right? If you're looking back 10,000 years, right? And that's why you see subtle differences. Ashish is talking about all the similar structures across the world, and Praveen showed some of those stuff that look like pyramids that look in India, just like they do in Mexico or Peru or whatever, right? I think we're dealing with a global civilization. So when you've got 4 people on stage, and even though that was one of my favorite parts of the event as well, I don't think you can call Atlantis one place. It's this spot on the globe. I tend to think it's a seafaring civilization that at least crossed between the Atlantic and Europe back and forth to North America. And I think the whole thing was Atlantis. That's my take. So,
yep.
Hit the music, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, everybody. Dave Fitzpatrick, any final thoughts, closing thoughts?
Could I do one thing real quick before we end? Real quick.
Yeah, you're good.
I posted a link in the private chat there. I'd love to show that real quick. Now, I might be an idiot and totally fooled, but if there was one thing that I'd want to show everyone and get everyone looking at, if we could confirm whether this is real or not, I think this would be pretty significant. So I kind of want to just offer a quick backstory. In Egypt, you've probably seen this dog-headed character. His name is Osiris, and he's named after the star system Sirius, same thing. And they say that this character comes from this star system in the stories. In 2017, a French lab pointed an infrared telescope at the star Sirius A, and they found this circular black hole object-looking thing. And it's not actually a black hole. I'm just saying that it looks like that little circle black area. They found this object sitting in front of the star Sirius. So the star Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. And for anyone curious, Sirius B is the little bright dot in the bottom left quadrant. You'll see a little bright dot there. That's Sirius B. So this is an infrared image, and I've seen the video that they have linked on this website. However, it seems recently, within maybe this year, this video for some reason has been taken down, even though this finding has been there since 2017. Curious for that. But in the video I've seen of this exact same object, it shows this object rotating. Now, this object is not any known celestial body. It's not a planet. It's not an asteroid. It's not a moon. It's not a star, obviously. It's sitting in front of the star Sirius. Now, I have no idea if I've been fooled by something, but I would love to confirm this result. People have speculated online for a long time whether this might be an actual Dyson sphere. And I think that this might be one of those possible low-hanging fruits that we could maybe figure out. Is this real or not? And what's weird about this is this was a flash in the pan. There was a ton of news about it as soon as it came out, and then it just died off. No one discredited it as far as I could see. It just got a bunch of publicity and then died. And I have no idea why that is. I would say that this would be one thing that you would definitely want to confirm at least twice over, whether or not it's real. And so, the other interesting thing is, if you guys know about Graham Hancock, he talks a lot about how one of the shafts in the Queen's chamber is pointing at the star Sirius. And one of the things that I've been looking at is why is it that the granite inside these shafts is a deep red granite, different than all the rest. And the kind of concept I've been working with, that I've been putting together, it looks like what they're trying to do is they're trying to isolate infrared wavelengths and reflect them down into the Queen's chamber. And this is where I would love to have an engineer help me out and verify any of this. In terms of the engineering, am I correct that can we isolate an infrared wavelength in this way and have it reflect all the way down to the Queen's chamber if there's red granite there, deep red granite? So yeah, I'm surprised that not a lot of people seem to know about this. Maybe I'm an idiot and just got fooled by somebody, but I hope that we can figure out if this is real or not.
You were telling me about that on the way up to Pilot Mountain, and the first thing I thought was Dyson Sphere. So, and I'm the last guy who should have an opinion on that, but if that's the first thing I thought, then I'm sure other people thought it too. So,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Let's hit the closeout music. Give everyone a
Thanks
chance
again,
to say
everyone.
bye.
Yeah. Dave Fitzpatrick, thanks for coming on. Got
Thanks
anything
for
else
having me.
us?
It's great chatting with everyone this evening. Looking forward to the next year's summit. And I don't know, as fast as technology is changing, we probably have no idea. I mean, just look how quick all that stuff came up with the pyramid. So future looks bright to figure out our future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Brian, what you got?
Hey guys, thanks a lot. It was fun hanging out tonight.
Thank you so much, and we'll definitely be in touch, Brian, to near your Amazon premiere. Dave also look forward to seeing a whole 2 hours with Dave Fitzpatrick dropping tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on Mike and Dave's Multiverse.
Yep.
Ashish, I think, is going to be a speaker at Cosmic Summit in a couple of years. So not to put you on the spot, brother, but
Saw him here first.
yeah, you guys saw him here first, and we
Let's
met
see what
him on the
Randall
first
says in the
night.
email first before we get too excited.
Very cool, very cool.
And thanks to Britt for coming on camera with us tonight. It's so great to have you in the chat room with us.
Yeah, I think she should do that every episode, every live stream, like X-Ray Girl does on Nerdrotic. What do you think, Brittany?
I'll do it.
Nice.
You must have taken
Love it.
5,000
I'm willing
pictures.
to do it.
How many was it exactly?
It's about a little under 1,500 altogether that I need to
Oh
go
my
through.
gosh.
But a lot of them are going to be thrown away because they're like repetitive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know or weren't there, Brittany was like all over the place during the Cosmic Summit, taking pictures in every room of every guest with every all over the place. She forced Mike and I out of our comfort zone and got pictures. Hey, cat! She's got a cool cat back there.
Mentale boss cat wiggle bottom.
Yeah.
He's the queen.
And to our audience, new subscribers and old, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We really appreciate all the support. Any comments you give us, any likes, any subscriptions, goes a long way for Mike and I. It's just like a little dopamine hit that gets us to keep doing this kind of work, because this is a lot of work behind the scenes, what Mike and I do, and we do it for fun, but we also like the encouragement from you guys. So thank you so much for that. After this, I'm going to play directly from Rebirth of the Word, Mr. Tyrone's X page, a 43-minute video of the Pilot Mountain experience, so that if you didn't get to experience Pilot Mountain at Cosmic Summit because you were either watching online or you weren't able to be there, or you just decided to go to the party instead, you can see Yona French Hawk do his thing, Randall do his speech, Jim do his speech, and then Tyrone got a bunch of good pictures up there. I don't know if they're going to be on the presentation, but we're just going to let it play from here for about 45 minutes after. So
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyrone, for sharing the footage with us. Please enjoy the Pilot Mountain trip that we took. Thanks again. We'll see everybody later.
Oh, and real quick, Josh the Ancients, thank you for joining. Who else? We're missing somebody?
Thanks,
Are we
Josh
missing
the
one?
Ancient and Tyrone were with us. That's who was with us
Tyrone.
earlier. Yep.
I think that was it. And thank you so much, George Howard, for putting on the biggest party of the year for ancient history nerds. And can't wait till next year. Let's go.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for letting me come on and listening to my rambling.
No, this will be your first of many, Ashish. First of many.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care now.
Bye.
All right. What's up, everybody? What's up? So I just came back from North Carolina from the Cosmic Summit convention that they had up there. It was pretty interesting. I'm not here to really talk about that, but I do want to share something that I got to experience while I was there at Pilot Mountain. And just so that way we can go ahead and just get started and get straight to it, I'm just going to go ahead and start playing it because this will explain more than what I could ever try to explain about what I experienced there. So let's just go ahead and get the introduction out the way. But definitely this was it was beautiful. So here it goes.
But I was introduced by kind of our main speaker today, Jim McKelvey, right there, who wrote a book called Faces of Pilot Mountain. And I read his book last year, actually at night after the Cosmic Summit. I said, that's a great field trip idea, and came up here the following week as I was kind of decompressing. I said, that'd be a neat idea. So I circled back to Jim a few months later, and he suggested that Yona French Hall join us. And, the Cherokee, their Native Americans hold a special place in, North Carolina's history, and the Cherokee particularly said. And they have managed to maintain a lot of their original knowledge and traditions despite all the challenges there. Yona French Hall embodies what remains of that knowledge. And he's going to perform a little ceremony, speak to us for a minute, if you will. And then Randall Carlson's going to tell us about the geology of Pilot Mountain, which is a North Carolina State Park. And then Jim McKelvey is going to speak to kind of the themes of his book, which I highly recommend. And then we're going to go for the big reveal. Okay. And I'm not terribly familiar with the trail system. You are welcome. What is kind of neat and a central part of Jim's book is that on the solstice particularly, the mountain casts a perfect pyramidal shadow to the east. So what may look like an uneven topography, this is clearly not a pyramid, but if you're the sun looking at it, and you just take what it's blocking, your shadow casting thing from, coming out of the earth, it casts a shadow perfectly east, which looks exactly like a pyramid, which is just kind of, who knows what that means. Jim can speak to that. So we figured, hey, we're doing this on the solstice. It makes a great field trip. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Yona, and then we'll go to Randall, and we'll go to Jim, and then we're going to take a hike up to the overlook, and you'll kind of get a feeling for where you are. So the reveal comes after the talk. Okay, thank you very, very much. We're grateful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can everyone say CO? CO. CO, S-I-Y-O, CO. CO. The Cherokee, it means hello or greeting. And in our way, we try to bring back our language so that these tree people who have been here way longer than we have, they might be the only language that they remember, or they miss the people that used to walk this land that speak that language. Just like sometimes we hear an old song that brings back ancient memories or a place. So we try to do that, to invite that back in. My name is Yona Frenchhawk. I am a full-blooded Cherokee. I'm a member of the Eastern Valley Cherokees located over here in Cherokee, North Carolina. What a lot of people don't know is that Cherokee is not a reservation. It's actually called the Kuala Indian Boundary. It's called the Kuala Indian Boundary because the U.S. government took that land from us 2 times and we bought it back twice. And that land was taken and allotted back to the Cherokee who remained hidden in these mountains around this area in the Piedmont of North Carolina as well as the mountains. And we've always felt a certain call to the energy of this land. That vibrational energy that lives deep within. That global connection, that mycelial connection of vibrational sound and life that connects us to all Earth. All the way from the pyramids to Stonehenge to the Bermuda Triangle or other places. And maybe Sasquatch is out there singing spirit songs or something. So let's hold space for those things that are beyond what we see in the sky, and hold a good place for those things that live in the oceans and beneath the earth. And all the intelligence that we learn from that as we grow and evolve as human beings, how we draw from the very first teacher that was given to each of us. The first shaman didn't have a teacher. The first shaman had to figure it out. We all have that shaman inside of us, and that's why we're here, I suspect. Is to explore the depths or beyond the horizon, to go in, to go out, to connect with that cosmic energy, of chaotic energy, of free radicals, of collisions and explosions that can explain some of the energies that live in the sky. Whenever the energies come alive, we feel it. Maybe working in retrograde, don't try to communicate and all the little novel things that you say. But let's really go back and connect with the source of why we say these things, instead of just, oh, it's a cute saying. I don't really know what it means, but let's really at some time explore. And that's what I'd like to share with you in this song, is a vibrational reconnection to Earth. To this crystal. How many of you have a crystal that you hold, or it speaks to you, or whatever it is, or you have something that has an energy that is dear to you? Some people call it money. But it's that kind of energy that we want to take away the distractions that have been offered to us upon this earth that we call evolution. To go back to the source foundation of the return to the Mother Earth womb, to that place of silence and calmness, to remember an ancient language that each of us know. We know it fluently. You have one of these, and we're members of the same tribe. We're members of the same family. We're all one indigenous tribe of this earth. And the wisdom that's floating around out there in the cosmos, and whenever we see the beauty of this vulture that comes and offers medicine to clean up some of the things that might be separating us from clarity. And that's why we come to this crystal mountain. It's for that clarity, to use the vibrational energy to enter into our bodies, or to offer back the sacred reciprocity of life. Breathing in and out, moving away from using your mouth and your nose, and really just using your body as a vessel to be. And maybe this is the ancient wisdom that built the pyramids. Maybe this is the ancient wisdom that roams the sky, wondering what we're doing here on this planet. Maybe this is the wisdom that we've been carrying the whole time, and we just need to come together. To the Cherokee, we're a matriarchal society, and we sing to the mother and the divine oneness of life and the feminine. We invite all that energy that mother nurtures us with. And we understand that we honor the masculine and the feminine in equality and in balance, so that they can meet together equally and rise up and create the divine oneness that we understand as life. Oh, my girl, can't you see? I will always love you. Way, oh, you, hey, will, Oh, my boy, don't you cry. I will always be by your side. Way, oh, will, you, hey, oh, my boy, can't you see? I will always love you. Way, oh, you, hey, will, you, hey. Way, oh, will, you, hey. Way, oh, don't you cry. We will always be by your side. Way, oh, will, you, hey, Mother, can't you see? We will always love you. Way, oh, will, you, hey, will, you, hey. Mother, don't you cry. We will always be by your side. Way, oh, will, you, hey, Mother, can't you see? We will always love you. Way, oh, will, you, hey, will, yeah. So I guess we got the megaphone just as always when we use it. Yeah, I got one, but I don't know if we need it. Everyone hear Pop? Did you hear Yana? Yeah. Pretty good. Okay, usually that's a problem in these kind of settings. Might work. All right. So I've been inspired for many, many years by a quote from the 12th chapter of Job, 8th verse, 12:8. Job 12:8. It says, "Speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee.
So I have been trying for 30 some years now to enter into a dialogue with the earth to learn what its secret, and it has been yielding up some secrets, and I'm going to be talking about that in my Sunday talk. But in this area right here, we're looking at, it's called a monadnock or an inselberg, which is a erosional residual. So at one time, the top of this, and this is hard to believe, but try to wrap your head around it. At one time, the top of Pilot Mountain was the ground level. Now, I don't know how long that was ago, but it was a long time ago. But in the interim, all of the surrounding material has been removed. Now, the geology, it's basically metamorphosed, probably beach sand that's been highly compressed under pressure. And it's a type of quartzite. I think Jim will probably get into that somewhat. But so it like very much like a diatreme or a volcanic neck, which is dense basalt. It's harder than the surrounding matrix of material. So a series of erosional episodes, I think episodes rather than continuum of slow erosion, has left this thing isolated as a butte. And I call it a butte because in geological terms, you have, whenever you have a prominence on the landscape like this, that's right. There is a nomenclature for these things like this. A butte is essentially a prominence which is roughly as wide as it is high. If it's wider than it is high, it's a mesa. If it's even wider than that, it's called a tableland. If it's narrower than it is tall, it's called a pinnacle. And then there's a special case of a pinnacle that you see sometimes, and I'll be showing some slides of pinnacles. That's where you actually have a flared top, a flanged top, so that the erosion has very much been below that flanged top. And that's called a pedestal rock. So you got a pedestal rock, which is a pinnacle, almost like with a shelf on top of it. Then you have a pinnacle, which is just a tall rock that you can see those many different places. Then a butte is kind of what we have here. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking it's about as wide as it is high. That would put it in the category of a butte. Now, none of these terms imply the type of lithology. It's just really more the shape, the relationship between the height and the width. So this, I think from the best I was able to determine, very ancient sea beach at one time. I think I got that from Jim's book. I read your book a year ago, so now I'm getting a little fuzzy on the details. I fell asleep over your book on several occasions. But so, interestingly, now see, I'm a catastrophist, so I believe that the landscape bears witness to catastrophes that have occurred in the history of this planet. And I'm particularly interested in catastrophes that have occurred on this planet during the time that we humans have been here, right? Now, the Southern Appalachians, the Piedmont, and the coastal plain, if you know how to read the evidence in the landscape, bears witness to these tremendous cataclysms and what I would call erosional events. And this area here was taking a lot of the runoff from the eastern flanks of the Appalachian Mountains. And in the talk Sunday, I'm going to show you slides where you're going to be able to see the magnitude of some of these fluvial events. One term, fluvial means flowing water. Diluvial is kind of an archaic term, but it means really big floods. And there have been really big floods through here in recent history, like within the last 10 to 20,000 years, probably associated with the transition of global climate from an ice age, a glacial age, into the interglacial age that we're in now. And this is my first time to Pilot Mountain, so I haven't had a chance to explore around here and specifically document in the field some of this evidence. But we know from tracing water flows that this area would have been subject to enormous extreme rainfall events and fluvial events. Rainfall is pluvial, means rainfall. So if you're reading the literature and you come across the term pluvial, it means rainfall. If you see the term fluvial, it means flowing water. If you see the term alluvial, it means that is the byproduct of flowing water. So there is a lot of alluvium, particularly as you get up into the mountains. Now, I used to do a lot of hiking up in the hollows and the stream valleys of the southern Appalachians. And when you get up there, you start seeing evidence that is indisputably the result of catastrophic flows. For example, you'll see piles of boulders that some of them are the size of the buses that we drove in on, right? SUVs stacked up on one another. And I've got photographs. I'll be showing you some of these. Jim, you got it?
They're at the base of the mountain here, just huge boulders.
Yes. Okay. So that was actually my next question was I was going to say, I'll bet if we had searched around here, we would find that evidence, right? And it's clear when you look in some of these stream valleys that the modern streams had nothing to do with moving a 2,000 or 3,000 ton rock, but they're there. And so this is also reminding me of a place, Chimney Rock in southern Colorado, where you've got two pinnacles up. And you have the same phenomena when you are there on the solstices that creates a shadow that's very much a pyramid. And as the sun is setting, as the sun is setting, the pyramid shadow increases and then points to a distinct position on the horizon, which is very interesting. And then the reverse happens at sunrise and at sunset. And it's almost like a large geological clock. So, I've been looking to get to that ever since I read Jim's book. I got to get out there and see that. And then George told me, we're going to do a field trip there. And I said, okay, well, I'll come to the Cosmic Summit after all. But that's about some reason we did this. Yeah, random thing. Yeah. Okay. So, so I'm not an expert on the geology here, other than it is a type of quartzite, which is metamorphosed sandstone, and then underneath it is our marine rocks. Now, are they limestones under the sandstones?
I don't think so, but it does seem to be a foundation of granite.
Foundation of granite.
The largest granite outdoor granite quarry is 12 miles from here. It's gigantic.
The largest granite quarry on the earth.
Yeah.
On the earth.
In the neighborhood. Yeah.
Is it by
The largest
any
producer
chance
of granite.
connected with the granite that forms Stone Mountain? Probably.
Right, it is. Same.
It is the same part of that batholith.
Yeah.
That's the term batholith, which is this huge mass of granite, which is exposed to the surface in multiple places. But Stone Mountain, Georgia, is one of those outcrops. Now, granite is an igneous rock. It's an intrusive rock. So it wells up underground. It does not emerge from the surface. That's an extrusive. And what that means is that it takes much longer for granite to cool. And so the crystals grow much larger, which makes it very, very distinct from basalts that extrude onto the surface of the earth. And if I misspeak here in anything, Robert, please correct me. Okay? I've been okay so far, right? Okay, thanks. I was getting nervous when Robert so basalts flow out onto the surface of the earth and they crystallize much quicker. And so the crystals don't have time to form these big, sometimes you see these amazing macro-sized crystals in granite. But so that means you had granite is the basement rock, as you would call it. And over that is the quartzite. Right. Okay. And I think
the granite has feldspar too.
And what?
The granite has feldspar, so it's got a magnetism to it.
Okay. That's interesting. So that probably kind of leads to some interesting properties. Is there any anomalies with magnetic direction here at all?
I'd love to find that out. And since people are mapping things, especially now they have a handheld kind of thing to map. I'd love to do that here.
Yeah.
But everything, all the archaeology here is restricted access. It has embargoed items, and so any artifacts found here are put in that warehouse, not available to the public.
So we have to sneak in.
We have to sneak in. And I have not snuck in, so I'm in a little trouble.
Jim, I'm right that we need to be out by.
Yeah, we probably should get going here. Yeah.
Randy, any final words? We'll kick to Jim, and Jim talk for maybe no more than 10.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of stuff. Sure.
I've always wanted to get Randall Carlson on this mountain. This is a So, real quick. I work for Weekly Variety. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. If you want to talk to me about Neil Young, I'm pretty good with him. Willie Nelson, Aretha Franklin. But so I collected these stories. I was driving by to see my in-laws in Lake Waccamaw, which is the largest Carolina Bay. And we would go back and forth, and I would see this every time for 20 years. And there was one day when the sun was really beautiful on the, it's October 2nd, 2012. And I drove up and I took pictures where we're going to go next. And there were stone faces facing south. And I went, well, that's really curious. Is that just my mind playing tricks? And then I looked it up, and Thomas Jefferson's father called this the Stonehead on the first really official map of this area. It was the Fry Jefferson map. And I went, holy cow, I think there's a story here. So I came up here about a week later, probably the 9th of October, 2012, took pictures close up of the stone faces. And these are examples right here, right here. These look like moai. They got the top knot, they got the little notch here. So then I was really intrigued, and I went to the Pinnacle station, the Marathon station here, and there was an old timer with bib overalls, and he was sitting on a bench drinking a Diet Pepsi. I went in and got a Diet Pepsi, came out and sat down next to him, and I said, can you tell me any stories about Pilot Mountain? I'm really curious about it. I've been by it, and now I'm been to it, kind of like Randall today. And he goes, well, what I can tell you is the Native Americans here say that you should take your moccasins off within 20 miles of Pilot Mountain out of respect for the sacred landscape. And that was all I needed. I've been researching it. I research it every day. And every day I find out something new. I ran across Randall Carlson. Randall Carlson helped a lot with, in fact, he was reading the book, and I go, I know he hasn't gotten to the part where he's quoted extensively. But yeah, so
I'm still waiting for my check.
Yeah, I was worried, did I go too far with the fair use? But yeah, it's just been an amazing experience. And then I got to know Yona French Hawk, and we got talking about the energy of the mountain and the quartzite, because this truly is a pyramid. It's 3 times the size of the Giza pyramid. It most likely is natural, but the odd thing about it is it's all quartzite. So it's 1,400 feet tall. It's 3 times the size of the Great Pyramid. And I always encourage people, and I don't know, there's a lot of us here and stuff, if you get up to the little pinnacle, if you take your shoes and socks off, you're putting pressure on quartzite. And when you put pressure on quartzite, and I might be saying that wrong, piezoelectricity comes up through your body. And that's a healing thing. In PubMed, if you look up piezoelectricity right now, there are 79 studies, serious studies going on right now about the healing properties. So this is a sacred mountain that has a scientific foundation to it. And Yona French Hawk's going to be at my booth all weekend. And you can talk to him about that. And I'm here too. And I'm not speaking, so if you guys want to just come up and talk, I'm game. We'll see how long my voice lasts. But yeah, so let's go up to the little pinnacle. We're going to go right up there and just kind of stay to the edge. Keep to the right and go all the way up. And we'll just kind of filter around the little pinnacle, and you're going to get a fantastic view of the big pinnacle.
Thank you.
honored to have you here, and this is the unscheduled part of the ceremony. So unofficially, we'll just go ahead, if you would, just honor the sun and the solstice time. In that time when the solstice and the sun comes and hangs just for a moment in that stillness. We invite that stillness to come into our lives vibrationally for just that moment where there's no shadows. There's no shadows to be hidden in our spirit, our soul. So we honor this, and I want to offer this song to call the ancestors. And as I'm offering the song, I encourage you to invite and think of your ancestors or your spirit animals. Think of your dog, think of your kids, or whoever it is that you want to be, and invite with them in this moment of awareness. This is a sacred place where many tribes came, so we want to offer this song in a good way. Yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, ho. Yeah, hey, yeah, ho. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ho. Ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. Hey yo, hey, hey ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey yo. I invite you to breathe that in to the people of this land, the Cherokee and all the other tribes. This crystal did represent a place of invitation. Many of us understand maybe in the energetic realms that in the Cherokee beliefs that in order for us to share anything, there has to be an invitation.
Yo,
Hey,
I hate the pauses. The venue is that way. We're missing our lead speaker, Jim McKelvey, if anybody knows where he is. But let's go down and we can
Okay.
continue down there.
all right.
Okay.
All right,
now we're sorry to interrupt the
We're on the
ceremony.
very land where this happened
Okay.
before. So now we're going to Going down the and I come by it honestly. I was born and raised on these parts. The Cherokee, we have an entity called Judakula. Judakula is the person, the spirit that lives in the mountains. And in the very beginning of time, oh, we have a celebrity. Oh, a wedding. Congratulations. For the couple. The first day's gonna be the longest. You're on a sunrise ceremony. You married somebody this morning at sunrise. So to the Cherokee, Judakula is the spirit of the mountains. They're coming up. We call it the Etawishan, the face in the rock. And there was an agreement made in the very beginning of time for all living beings to love, respect, and honor one another. And Judakula is that spirit that comes and roams the mountains, and the faces show up in the stone to watch over the people to make sure they're still in alignment with the agreement to always love and respect and honor all life. So to the Cherokee, that's part of the story of why this mountain is so significant, is because it has all these guardian faces watching over this sacred place that maybe from the cosmos that the intelligence or the life there recognizes this place. And so the earth naturally responds to it by giving it its own natural sentries, like these tree people that guard over us and watch everything that we do upon this earth. So I'm honored to share that with you. And again, I'll be with Jim if you want to come by and chat and have any questions. Be honored to be present for you in a good way. Thank you.
Yeah, this is all done in a good way today. Really good way. Well, you can see it. You know, you got the cosmic summit. I came up there. I was like, this is kind of our cosmic summit. So, we're at the summit. Nice, convenient 40 miles. We got some good videos. So let's kind of travel through here and let everybody up to see the yeah.
I'm glad I came when I did.
Yeah, me too.
If you look that way, that's the front of the Appalachian Mountains. Those Appalachian Mountains all the way in Tennessee.
It's not that far.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah, I had to throw that in there. You know, I had to throw that in there. I got to actually get sell some books there to some people that I met there. But just to say in short terms, that was just an amazing